And welcome everybody to, we're not even recording yet. Let's get an actual recording up. Welcome to the pre-show, everyone. You could have told me we weren't in Zencaster, guys.
We were not in Zencaster. I thought you had it controlled.
I don't have nothing controlled. Welcome everybody. Slight delay to the start of the podcast. That was going to be
better
perfect.
Than let Peter control anything.
Oh, last minute. Gotta love it. How is everyone tonight?
Good. Are we actually recording or not?
No, we're not. We're live.
We don't want to hear. We don't want to hear from you. Not yet. Save
Smooth
all your
except no less.
save all your dogger brother.
We're gonna do it. Okay, let's go. So I've got a link here. You're just gonna stuff the stream up for just a second, because that's how I do it. That one, and then that one.
Thank you, sir.
Oh no, you've really broken it.
It's all good. That's what I do. I'm glad everyone's joining us tonight.
Oh god.
Who would have thought? Months to prepare this.
Can you give Dark Knight a refund on his subscription after that?
Nope. All money goes to great causes of I don't know what yet.
Building a house.
Yeah, that's it. Building my house. As prepared as ever. Yes, Carl, we are. I need Timmy, Buckets, and Alex. One of the Alexes to get in there.
The other Alex.
Other Alex.
Yep.
We'll get started in a sec. That would have been perfect. I timed that all to perfection. Braden's put his hand up. What do you need to say, Braden?
Nothing. I was just playing with the buttons.
Testing.
Testing.
Are you getting the audio through from me okay in Zencaster?
I can see Alex is moving up and down, yes.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Sorry.
Everyone's here. I'm pressing record, waiting for health checks to complete from Timmy Buckets.
I am good.
Okay, so we're good. Everyone's talking. Test from Braden.
Yep.
Test from other Alex.
Test.
Yeah, and I know the other two are working, so that's fine.
Just.
I haven't done this for so long. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing podcast. That's what we're at. I'm here searching up Tom Clancy stuff, and I almost went Tom Clancy. That's okay. I'm Peter Wilkinson. I'm joined tonight on this very, very special night that's not going at all to plan by, let's start with the top. Alex McKellar, how you going, mate?
I'm doing well, mate. Great to be here on this auspicious occasion.
That's it. We're also joined tonight by the one, the only Braden Martin. How you going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Long week, but happy to come sit and talk some rubbish with you guys.
I feel like I set your webcam up and you just decided to go out of frame all the time, but that's okay. We're live. It's all good. His mood will go up and down depending on how his footy tips go tonight, so we'll see how we go. We're joined also by Alex John. How you going?
Hey, good to be here. Now we can see all of the editing that has to go on.
Has to go into this.
Right?
That's it. So full disclosure, Alex might get swept off the face of this earth in a sec by storm, but we will keep on going. We're also joined by Timmy Buckets Cornt. How you going, mate?
I'm good. You've put me in a good mood, Wilco. You've put me in a good mood.
I'd do that. I said to a guy today, he said, how are you going? I said, good seeing you, because I know there's always got to be worse in my life. I could always be worse. So I guess that's how I feel to you. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this very special night. Yes, we have been doing this for a year. You couldn't tell for the last 2 weeks because we haven't put out an episode because life has got in the way of just about every single person here on the team. So sorry for the 2 week of no podcast, but we are here to celebrate what's been a very eventful year. I've just got the episodes up right here in front of me, although it's telling me about a podcast series I haven't done for a very, very long time. So let's go to actually Locked On iRacing. The very first episode. Can you remember exactly the date, Braden, that we did this thing for the first time ever?
I can't remember the exact date, but I remember us jumping in using Audacity to record something only about 10 or 15 minutes, I think, was the plan, and it probably blew over like every other podcast we did for the first few weeks, and has pretty much continued through. It must have been end of February or early March.
Well, we decided to do a very, very small intro trailer to the podcast that was just going to tell people what we were doing and when we we're going to do it. We uploaded it on the 18th of March, 2021, and it was 10 minutes and 8 seconds.
We didn't go overtime. It's a miracle.
Well, that's it. We then officially dropped the very, very first episode, which was just a nice, short, quick one to let everyone know what was happening in the local iRacing community. Just, the news and events. It was only an hour and 4 minutes for our very first episode. For our half hour bi-weekly, once a fortnightly episode or podcast on the 25th of March, exactly 1 year to the date tonight. So that's just actually very good coincidence. So that's where we've come. We've put in a massive amount of episodes to do with the fact that we had, what do we call it? Interview podcasts in there as well. So we did 39 last year, straight up episodes. We also did, we've done another 9 this year. We've also looking at apparently around about 25 podcasts to do with interviews. So quick maths puts that at about,
60 odd.
Yeah. So in a year, 60 odd episodes of a podcast is not too bad. Thank you for everyone who has been listening to us over this time. We've hit some crazy numbers. Obviously, we'll start with the biggest month in our history, which was February this year, when Macrogate hit, and we had a chat to young Mike, and we got our biggest episode, and then we followed it up with our next biggest episode, and our next biggest episode, and our next biggest episode. So that was some craziness, and obviously we know why. Lots of drama in the Australian iRacing community, but it was good fun to cover it all. It wasn't good fun, but it was interesting anyway, and it's still going on in the background. We still don't have a resolution to this, which is the annoying part. This year last year we brought on young Alex McKellar, mate. We brought you on towards the end of last year, and then we had a little guesting appearance by Alex John, and then Timmy came on this year officially when Alex John did as well.
It was normally AJ jumping in just when he won everything, wasn't it?
Yeah. We interviewed him.
You stopped inviting me back.
Hence the trophies.
There's, if you're watching the live stream, which hopefully you are, Locked On Lads. I don't know, what is it? Twitch.tv/Locked On Lads, Locked On Lads YT on YouTube, and Locked On Lads on Facebook. Alex John has perfectly put those trophies in the background from his Aussie car wins. So congratulations on that. Can I start with the top again? Alex McKellar, what's it been like? You've got some history with iRacing podcasts in the past, which is really good. You've got some history with some guy called Ben Snell. I apologise for that. But what's it like jumping back in the saddle and jumping behind the mic and coming along when you did in our last year?
Yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed scratching that itch again. I had an idea in my head when I did it originally with a Top Split podcast, and I again enjoyed doing that and talking to different people and those sorts of things. And then this was another avenue for me to get out that, it's just like an outlet for the stuff that's inside that you want to talk about with this stuff. And it's a great way to connect with people with a similar mindset, similar interests. And, you learn a bit. You get to, like I said, scratch that itch and get it all out. And it's good, mate. It's been a good, enjoyable experience.
I'm definitely glad you came along. It definitely gave us some credibility, you'd reckon, Braden?
Yeah, us two buffoons who
That's
don't know what we're doing.
I think that's a stretch.
Definitely. No, definitely. That's when this podcast started to take off, wasn't it?
Oh, the numbers here, you can see, just went through the roof. The problem is we don't put your face on camera enough, McKellar, because it's such a beautiful face. That beard is amazing.
Mate, there's a few better ones out there. Snell, even Ira I saw when he was here that time. He's an outstanding beard. But Snell, not only is it flaming red, it's just extensive and certainly awe-inspiring.
Especially when it's out the side of his drift car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So Alex John, I want to go to you, mate. You joined us at the start of this year. You obviously had a few interviews with us when you won everything under the sun by being the most consistent driver in the history of everything. What have you enjoyed so far, and what brought you on in the first place?
Look, I've really enjoyed the maybe the unscripted moments that come out of the podcast. So, generally, we've had some really good moments with the people chatting about their racing, and then they might just raise an issue or something they've learnt that week, and I love how it leads on to a greater conversation about something that maybe some people didn't know about, or just something that we've all learnt in the process of doing this. And so it's been really good fun and enjoyable to do it, and not just to come on here and talk about myself all the time.
But that's all we want to hear about is you, and that's all everyone wants to hear about, mate. The voice that soothes the nation. We talk about now. Timmy Corn, I'll go to you because I want to come back to the special host that's been on for the most episodes other than me. But Timmy, you came on this year. I know it's a scary moment to jump in with us idiots, but how did you go when jumping on with us?
Good. Yep. Would you like more than that? Or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, look, it's been enjoyable. Look, firstly, since joining Locked On Lads, I've enjoyed being a part of the group. It's a good little community and a good network, and I think one of the great things about the community. Sorry if can you hear that noise in the background? Oh God, thank God, my partner and son are having baths. And screaming. Look, the community of Locked On Lads for me has been, I think a really good part that I've added to my life, and I think that the enjoyment that I have with the group of guys that are in that group is fantastic. And adding that iRacing, and look, there's games that I enjoy being a part of, and I think sometimes I get a little bit bored with them pretty quickly. And iRacing is one game that I've enjoyed doing for a long period of time, but the community that we've been a part of has assisted with that, and I think this podcast is just another level to that. So, I'm no expert at racing. I'm no expert at podcasts, but, I'm happy to have a chat and have a laugh and, learn as much as I can from people that are on the podcast and share some of my downfalls to hopefully learn some more things.
Well, that is good. I'm glad you did come on board because you once again added a little bit of credibility. You are one of the fastest people we're in the team, besides the other two fastest. In Locked On Racing side, you're the fastest. You're definitely faster than Braden. Is that right, Braden?
Probably.
No, he's not.
Who knows?
I don't know. Why do we have you on here, Tim?
Car.
I don't know.
So I can do graphics.
That's it. The graphics man. If you are enjoying the graphics, say shout out to Tim. He's done an amazing job of that. Look, Braden, I put the call out back in February last year, I think, when someone jokingly said we should do a podcast when I was doing the Man Cave episodes. And you jumped up and put your hand up and said, yeah, cool, let's do this. How much do you regret that right now?
My time throughout the week probably regrets it a little bit, but especially in those early days when we were recording 2 or 3 interviews in a week, sometimes plus the podcast itself with just the two of us. But no, I've really enjoyed it. I think I might have been the person that was harassing you in the Man Cave chat to chuck up an iRacing podcast as well. So I guess I had to stand up if I was going to start making those kind of calls, didn't I?
Yeah, definitely. Look, it came from a weird spot. Like, time has killed us, right? We want to do so much more. We've wanted to do so much more for a long time. That's why you see 5 people here right now instead of the 2 or the 3 that we were going to start with, because we need the break and we need to be able to do more stuff. And we loved on it. That was the weird thing, right? We were putting interviews in with the normal episodes, and we were doing them they were becoming 2-hour episodes at the start, weren't they, Braden? 2.5 hours episode. But like, our best content here is the interviews that we're doing, and we split it up. And apparently, everyone wants to hear us talk about our races and the news and results. I think from what it works out is they probably just want to listen to the news and results, and they want to hear us shut up. We've got a comment about that later. We will get to. But it was weird seeing that these interviews, these things that we were painstakingly setting all this effort into, weren't the biggest episodes of the week. Was that weird for you? Because it was weird for me.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird, but in a sense, it also didn't bother me too much because I enjoyed doing those so much. And like some of the people that we've had a chance to talk to, like, it was just interesting for me. It was someone who, people I'd like to just talk to, whether it was recorded or not recorded anyway. So Although, yeah, it was a bit strange because it felt like, there was some really, really good content there for a lot of people to listen to and learn from people who are much better at things like, than us. For example, Madison Down, or, on the broadcasting side, people like Jay Kennedy, commentators like, Ryan Jones and David Haynes, all these really quality people within the community who have, amazing stories to tell and much more skills than we certainly do. So it is surprising that maybe they didn't quite pick up as the way I would have liked them to do. But again, having said that, I really enjoyed doing them and I learned a lot from it. So it definitely was a positive experience for me.
Yeah, definitely. It was one. There's a couple moments in there where we got responses from people that was like, "Yes, I want to be on the podcast," and I shared moments with you when people like Madison Down liked our page and clicked into our Discord, and we're like, "This is not going where I expected it to. I expected it to be just me and you just mucking around for an hour a week or half hour a week as it started, and 20, 30 people listening to it and going nowhere. But all of a sudden, when you start getting things like that happen, you start getting people like Emery on the podcast. You start getting Ryan Jones, which isn't really big, but love you, Ryan. But you get people like Reese Gardner and but yeah, some of the people we got on was amazing. But yeah, you bust your ass and no one listens to it. But it's well, not no one. They were still good episodes and they still had lots to listen to. But that was the content I was enjoying the most from the start. Braden, favorite interview. You got to pick one out. Come on, favorite person you interviewed.
Oh, favorite interview. I can't. There's no way I can pick one. There's a few.
I'm not picking one. You can pick one though.
I love talking to Carl. Like finding out a lot more about his backstory. A lot of stuff that I would have never known if we didn't have that chat with him. His work with Formula One and IndyCar teams, things like that. Like that was super interesting. Talking to one of the ones we did early, and I still pop into his stream quite a bit. The gaming stick.
Yeah.
Listening to his work about being a NASCAR spotter and NASCAR pit crew. That was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that a lot. And if you've ever not seen any of his streams or watched any of Daniel Gray's streams where he's spotted for Daniel, it's just amazing to listen to how good he is at spotting, and that was certainly a highlight up there for me, for sure as well. Madison Down, all of the SimSpeed broadcast team, all of them have been really, really interesting. And then Emery as well was a really cool one as well. Just, knowing how successful some of these people are in the sim space, and to get a chance to talk to them has been pretty amazing. And even can't forget Ira, like that first time we interviewed Ira, and then all of a sudden we all discovered that Ira is the most interesting man on the planet. that was definitely cool as well.
Yeah, look, the story behind Ira is just fascinating, and I love the man. I do wish that things were closer at the moment between us two, and I'm sad about that. But the fact that just seeing some of the stuff he's done and the stuff he's created over this time, the stories he's got, and the stories that he has, but we haven't even heard yet. Like he alludes to this person and this person, the people he knows, and he's had in his time is just phenomenal. But Chris Purnell was one of our biggest ones to start with. Once again, another person who's sort of vanished from the community, but we now at least have him in history as an interview for an hour. So that was really good. It's that kind of stuff. So people who do come and go from an iRacing community, as we were mentioning before, like Tim was saying that people don't always hang around with things all the time, and especially sims that are expensive. And you never, like I've only ever won one race in iRacing, so that kind of success rate would normally be something that would push someone away. But it's things like that being able to interview people and keep them around forever in the way of podcast was really good. But yeah, there's some really good names out there, and I'm now going to be really unhappy because I haven't named a whole heap of people. Obviously, Jay Kennedy, even though it took us half a year to get that out, that was an extremely interesting episode. And Reese Gardner, though, just the man is dedicated to another level, and just so professional. Really good stuff. But
and Can't forget
Chris
David
hasn't-
Haynes' interview where he just had a cat randomly show up at his house and in through his window, and just he sent me a photo like a couple of months ago, I think it was, of the cat was just back. It was just in his house. He just doesn't know where it comes from. Just this cat just turns up.
And this is what Alex John was talking about before, the unscripted stuff. Like you can see if you're watching the live stream, like we're just not prepared. We've put Coda up as we're broadcasting Coda tonight as instead of the intro of the anniversary stream. We've gone live without even putting the recording software up. We don't prepare for this stuff. We just chuck it in there and see where it goes. And look, it goes for about 2.5 hours usually, and it's obviously some okay content.
Chris hasn't disappeared. He's still hanging around because he's a part of the F1 fantasy.
Yes, I did see that.
Group. Yeah,
I was extremely happy to see that. So we've got a question about the future and stuff like that. So we'll go to that. I just want to quickly touch on a lot of you guys. Obviously, okay, I've been podcasting I was trying to find it before when my first podcast was done. It's over 10 years, right? There's a couple people in chat actually from the original days of Armed, which is a community around MechWarrior Online, which is still going today, and I'm still actually technically a part of, but they're doing a lot of Star Citizen and still MechWarrior Online, which is great. A podcast called Mech Nuts. So that started the whole thing. We went to Ultra Super Mega, which we started the Super Mega Cast, which I was trying to find the date for that, which was when it really started. We did 115 episodes of that over a couple of years. But out of that was born Locked On Lads, which was the Tom Clancy podcast that we made. And it started its first episode on the 7th of December 2016, a solid 5.5 years ago now. So that's where, if you're in the Discord, Timbo, Cal, and also Mr. Buttersocks, that's all the four of us were in that. And we did a stupid amount of years of podcasting of that podcast. And then we turned it into the Man Cave after a 6-month hiatus. And from that, we then came into this. So that's a bit of a history, but the Locked On Lads has been something that's way more than iRacing. I know a lot of you guys have been here since it's became a more an iRacing spot, because that's where my interests went to, and Tom Clancy stuff fell away. But we've kept that core of, as Tim said before, like just a really nice, tight-knit community that looks after each other and has a bit of fun, and doesn't take, like, there's just no shit going on. Like, I've been part of a lot of communities where just things fall apart and people get at each other and all that kind of stuff, but we just have been lucky enough to stay away from that in Locked On Lads. I think you'd agree for the most of it. So thank you to that community, which is growing in a very interesting direction. Not where we thought it was 5.5 years ago, but there's lots of stuff happening in the future. So before I before I talk myself to death, for starters, Brayden, you've been here for a long time. Can you think of a favorite moment or anything like that?
Oh, favorite moment. I like the cat thing with David. That's definitely up there. I just can't fathom just a random animal walking through my house, and the calmness of him just to be like, oh yeah, don't know where this cat's come from. That's definitely up there. Favorite moment specifically outside of that?
It is hard.
Probably getting the chance to just see. It's not. I guess it's not really a moment, but I guess it's almost like a documented history of my progression through iRacing. Each week getting a chance to jump on and chat. And I know that's not one singular moment, but it's kind of like Vernie's comment that I'm sure we'll get to at some point. But I was no good effectively. 16 months ago. I didn't know that you shouldn't rejoin in front of people, although having talking to Tim from my GT3 race a couple of weeks ago,
you still don't
don't know how to.
SRW is trying to tell you by giving you 90-second penalties, and it's still not working.
I still remember Matt Marsh in my first Aussie car season in the first practice session just politely saying, you do know you need to look at your relative before you go back on the track, mate. I was kind of like, oh, I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, it's kind of cool to just have, really, if I wanted to go back and listen and, hear about the kind of things I was talking about within my own races from a year ago, I'm sure that'd be very different to the way I talk at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Now, McKellar, have you got a favourite thing that's happened out of the podcast at all? or something
Oh,
you've got
look,
out of it?
yeah, look, just if I could reflect a moment on the interview episodes that you were talking about before, there were three that stood out for me. Like you guys, I think the stories behind Carl Withy really fascinated me, and they were very engaging, or told in a very engaging way. The Emery interview, I remember talking to you guys before that, and I thought you guys handled that really, really well. There's always it's a girl in iRacing and a girl streamer, and all. There's always that angle. That's easy. Like it's just but to take it as a serious racer with all that sort of stuff, just on the racing and the face value, I thought that was done really well. I'd actually seen her on other podcasts, and it hadn't been handled that way and hadn't been done that way, and I thought that was really good. The third one for me, as I think you both mentioned, was Jay Kennedy's. I find Jay a tremendous individual in terms of that concept that you guys have been talking about, building community and investing in community, which you do here, obviously. I do with the SNL stuff, the Sunday Night Live stuff, and it can be tremendously rewarding. It's a long haul. It can be rewarding in ways that are unseen and unheralded. And the work that Jay puts in, and I know there was a bit of a bumpy ride recently with some stuff in the community, which was, I thought, brutally unfair and unwarranted. But certainly the way he conducts himself day to day, the effort that he puts in, and the long-term effort that he's put in over an investment he's made of himself over a long period of time is tremendous. And then to see the way he sort of expresses everything, and he's so open and honest and shares everything that he does in that interview that you did with him as well was really good. Really professional in what he does as well. So yeah, those were the three things in terms of the interviews, but more broadly that have stood out over the time. Between us, though, I've enjoyed talking about and rabbiting on about my stuff for people to cheerfully ignore however they want. But like I said at the start, it's nice to be able to share some of the thoughts and get that feedback from yourselves and if there is any broadly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some of those interviews, like you talk about the Emery one, and that was always the thing. I didn't want to treat it any differently to any, and I think we had conversations about that, Braden, going in, like, how do we approach this? And we just did it as normal. We just, here's the run sheet here. We respect her very much as a driver and the personality that she actually is. So just to be able to be in, having she take the time to talk to us was something really special. So we wanted to, treat it a bit differently. And we were glad it came off as well as it did. So it was definitely one of our more favourite episodes. Alex, John, quickly, any regrets? I mean, favourite moments from so far?
Well, I was thinking, what has come out of the Locked On podcast for us, or for me, and regrets is probably a good one, because it was probably you guys having a crack at the oval racing, which sort of got Alex and I interested in giving it a go ourselves, and it was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks of diving in, having no idea what we were doing, and realizing just how different that world is, and how difficult it is to get speed, even if you're only turning left at the end of the day. It's incredibly hard. So going with regrets is a good way to pose the question, because not that it was a regret, but that was something that came out of the podcast, and I'm glad we tried it. And it's been interesting listening to the couple of oval guys you've had on as well, and talk about stuff which is like another language to me, essentially. So I've really enjoyed that.
Definitely. I just want to quickly shout out to a favourite moment from the Dark Knight. We got one, Matthew Mites, in chat talking about my Ferrari from the Enduro, the Tornado, and we've got the emote now flying across, which is still the first thing I see when I open up our Facebook page, because I think it's one of the highlighted videos.
If anyone hasn't seen it, it basically looks like the cow from Twister getting thrown through the sky, but instead it's Wilco and he's locked on Ferrari. Where was that race?
It was Sebring. That's why I hate
Sebring.
Yeah, I hate Sebring, as everyone should, but in particularly because of that moment. So let's go to the oval expert himself, though. Timmy, call it, mate. Regrets.
You got to stop saying that with my results, Jesus.
Hey, you're in. That's the main thing.
Well,
Ninth at Daytona 500. Come on, mate.
Yeah, that was, what was that, 3 months ago? Come on, get
No.
over it. My favourite moment. Well, look, actually, first, before I say anything, can I just talk about unscripted moments? I don't know if you've noticed, Wilco, in our Discord right now, in General Teams business, Ashy Bynes has actually, Ashley Brewster, sorry, he's a Brewster. Yes, it is Brewster, isn't it? From Brewster Coffee, has just posted the Facebook link for tonight's podcast, which says it's actually for tomorrow night.
Whoops.
Sounds about right.
Unscripted,
I never.
there you go.
If anyone wants to join the team and actually help me out with marketing and social media, that would be 100% great. Thank you very much, everyone.
What he's going to do is he's just going to premiere this podcast again on YouTube, and then it will just play through. That's what he meant. Yeah.
Braden, remember those times where we actually were doing premieres of interviews? That didn't work very well, mate.
No, that didn't.
Let's not that. Let's not that again.
Their favorite moment, look, to be honest, is, I think, podcasts, the interviews that stand out was Jay, but I won't go into it because Alex has already covered it. But to be honest, probably your Wilco rant, to be honest. I think following up from the BS that was happening in the community at the time, I think, it was pretty bold of you to go out there and do what you did and say what you did. And it, from my point of view, I think it was justified, warranted, and well taken. And I think the general community would have appreciated what you did and the respect that you would have, already had, but gained from that rant. Whilst your rant sounds as a negative connotation, but it wasn't. I think it was quite a positive. A response to the going-ons that were happening in that community at the time. So I think for me, that was my highlight.
Yeah, that was a spirit. Like, this year has been something different. Like, on a personal level, it's been one of those. It's been the last 4 months. It's been terrible. You've noticed we haven't done an episode for the last 2 weeks. I've been belted all over the place. I know Alex McKellar's crook at the moment. Braden hasn't got home from work before 7 o'clock every day this week. Alex John, I don't know what he's doing, but we haven't heard from him. He's too busy doing everything.
Overcommitted to too many races.
Yeah.
Winning too many races.
And Timmy, I'm asking to do artwork every other second of the day and helping me make me look better in an ASCAR as well. And it's
Monday. I'll just add my 2 cents to this. Monday, I worked Monday. Then at 6 o'clock, left home. Got to a bakery. We baked. Well, I didn't bake. I assisted. We had a baking team that did it. But 10,000 hot cross buns. I left the bakery at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that was, whatever it is, 16 hours. Come home, had a 2 hour sleep, and got back up and started looking at emails. And then the weeks continued.
Yeah.
So same story as you've been dealing with for the last bloody 6 months.
Yeah. So there's been that, but then on top of that, the stuff that's happened in the community in the last 3 months in particular, I guess, has just been it's been hard to watch, and it's been very hard to watch from the angle we've put ourselves in, of all things, of having to cover it and having to deal with it. Like we've had some pretty trying moments. I had it before that rant. Like I think I said it in the thing. I had a headache for about 2 days or 1 day, 24 hours leading into it, just with just the gutted feeling of the stress, knowing that everyone else was going through because of what was happening. So yeah, that unleashed. And unfortunately, the point was that it came, I think, well, it was very much, it got solved behind scenes, which is good. And I don't mind that being solved behind scenes, but I would have preferred a public apology of some description by the people involved, which didn't happen. That's fine. But by the time our episode actually aired, it was sort of old news, I guess. But, that's how we have to do it. We just, as you said, we don't have time to get this all up when we can. But quickly, before we go into some actual customer, we've been too busy with work. Some actual feedback from the community. I guess I just have a look at the 12 months we've had. So, well, not even 12 months, probably 18 months. So I created Locked On Racing as a bit of a gag in Aussie Car. Come Bathurst 12 Hour last year, we decided let's get a team together and actually do some enduros as some Aussie Car guys. And what name do we use? Oh, Locked On Racing, why not? Okay, everyone decided that. We've now got 12 or 13 guys are racing under Locked On Racing, which is phenomenal. We've won some championships. We've won races. We've got Braden winning. Not winning. He's throwing away the SRW Split 2 championship as best he can, but also in Scops Split 2, which is amazing. We've got a really good bond now with Top Split Racing, which is something the team we very much envied from the start of it. We've now got very good bonds now with many of the league owners and league runners and things like that. This last 12 months has been an absolute whirlwind, and to some of the things that have happened this week behind the scenes, we'll announce some stuff soon. But some of the things that have happened, I've just blown away with where we're at right now. We've got broadcasting going on, and I think some pretty good broadcasting going on. We've got, instead of just being a Skippy focused team, we're now very much in a lot of different leagues. Unfortunately, not in Skippies much anymore, but the way the whole team's grown and the things that's happened to the team over the last 12 months has been very interesting. But at no stage has there been anything negative happen. Like, shout out to Vic. Vic's been through an extremely hard time. I won't go into it. Personally, we've got Nathan Verney, who we all know had his back surgery. We've had just about everything. There's been some very big mental issues going on through not just the team, but the whole Discord for those last 12 months. It's been a ride, but to come from let's just chuck a team together to we're now broadcasting, people coming to us for interviews, people, coming to us to do other content as well. We just signed a deal, or not signed a deal, but we've just confirmed to go on another broadcasting partnership with someone as well. It's just been amazing. And thank you everyone in this thing here who Timmy's just gone. But thank you everyone who has out of U5 or U4 that have helped get it to there. So thank you very much. Let's get into the first question, which is Cal, not the question, feedback. By the way, Peter Baxter, no, I will not be going the 12-hour Sebring tomorrow. Not a chance in the world. That was the one thing. We wanted to do an enduro, and Timmy decided Sebring was one, and I just said no straight away, so not doing. Are you guys, McKellar and John, are you doing Sebring?
We were going to, and then because we did the Bathurst in the GT cars recently, then we did a round in the European Enduro and the LMP2, but then life's got in the way this week, to be honest. And we'll be lining up for some stuff soon, hopefully.
Sweet. I mean, I'm really interested to see how this whole shift of you guys from open wheelers back into enduros has gone and where it heads. So are you guys enjoying the enduros?
Typically it's gone fairly averagely, but other than that, it's been good fun. I mean, Bathurst is great endurance experience every time, and the LMP2 is a great fun car to drive, even if somewhat uncompetitive at this stage, but it's good fun.
Who would have known throwing pit stops in with Alex McKellar and things go wrong?
Never happens, right? Never.
No.
Actually, go.
I was going to say no. I really enjoyed it too, and just we haven't been doing the enduros. We've done them for a lot of years, but not regularly. But just doing two in quick succession, sort of thing. Doing the Bathurst one and then the Sebring one. It was just the stark difference between those. Like Bathurst was so mentally exhausting, trying to drive fast and keep it out of the wall, and then Sebring was just like a walk in the park.
It was a piece of cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, still a little bit off the pace, but no cars were really crashing. We didn't crash. It wasn't. It was just completely different, wasn't it?
It was nuts. Like, I mean, I had an incident. Like, I had an off for some reason. They let me start, and I said to them never again. But I just into the braking zone out the back after the hairpin. It all checked up dramatically, and I clipped I sort of moved left to make sure I didn't hit someone, and the rear left caught the grass, so I went around, waited for everyone to go by, but that was it. There were no retirements. There was nothing. Like, it was just, we just sat at the back forever as a result of that. It was really, really nuts. I was expecting some carnage. The pace was real even, and so we just didn't go anywhere. That pretty much the whole race. Nuts.
I got feedback. Actually, quickly, one of my favourite moments was talking to Alex McKellar after said championship, where Chastity and Braden beat them because you made a boo-boo in the pit at Xandor or something like that.
Yeah, it was at Xandor. It was
the
just
palpable
fantastic.
disappointment in your voice was just amazing.
It was only matched by this season where I did the same thing at Motegi and cost myself a championship.
Oh, let's not go there too much. But I've got a question from Ak in YouTube chat. Favorite overtake? It's an interesting one. Have you got an overtake, McKellar, that sticks out to you in history that you've done?
Oh, look, no, there was one race. I'm trying to remember where it was. Oh, it was like
Snell
I did
on
it
the
over under. Hey?
Snell on the outside of Road.
Oh, well, you could pick any number of Snells. I don't think he's got a list that's short enough to cover, and even in a 5-hour podcast. No, there was one recently where I sort of set up an over-under. Might have been in one of the in the replay races that I do, but probably one of those that stood out was one of the first replay races that I did in recent times at Nerve GP, and I just sat at P3 and I said, look, my goal here is to set up and go through, do what I can up the inside of the final chicane, because these guys will do their stuff and wash out to the left, and sure enough, that's exactly what they did, go through, and I just snuck out a win. Things like that where you set them up and there's strategy involved, those sorts of things are really rewarding when they come off the few times that they do.
I've got one. I still 100% think the best thing it felt like I'd ever done was at Spa in the last round when Russell and Alex ended up hitting each other through the last chicane. But I pushed so hard for those 3 or 4 laps after the pit stop, or might have even only been 2 or 3 laps, to try and catch onto the back or get close enough that when they started battling, I might have a chance. And sent it around the outside, but then the inside of the chicane in the skippy to get third. I think that's probably my best overtake I've ever made.
You did so well there, mate. Honestly, to bridge that gap in the first instance was really, like I said at the time, I just sat back and let you go because I wasn't going to sort of try and compromise AJ's championship at that point.
Yeah.
But then, can I say the other thing about that it really shows is when we talk about not racing and not battling and stuff, right? That was an endurance round, right? We were never in it until that last chicane, and the battling didn't start until probably that last sector, and that brought us right back in. In a 50-minute race, that's all it took to bring us right back into the race. And that's, people want to race, and that's cool, I agree. But if you want to win, sometimes you've got to hold back and fight that urge to stay in the race. Because those guys at the front brought us right back into it, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
Alex, John, you got a favourite overtake you can think of?
Of all time, or just in the last 12
Just
months?
whenever, just anytime. Give us one. What sticks out first?
I always remember the little legend cars at Phillip Island. There was a league. I can't remember how long ago now, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It was really popular in the Australian community for a season that it was run anyway. And they had some really cracking drivers in there. SVG was one of them, and I managed to pull a pass around the outside of turn 1 at Phillip Island on chain. So that was pretty cool. I like that.
Was it just Legends of the Island, wasn't it? I feel like I remember sometimes they used to run. They used to run it every Saturday night or Sunday night or something like that.
Yeah, it was a big event. There was a lot of cars and a lot of cool drivers in there. So
you pricked Tim's ears up when you said the Legends car.
There's not enough of it. It's if anything, they should concentrate on bringing out some body styles and make it like the Australian.
Yes.
Little
I've already
cars.
sent it off. I've already sent it to iRacing requesting it.
I want to talk about an announcement later, which might feed into that, Alex, John. So just listen out carefully later on.
I was giving you that segue.
Yeah, too early.
Too early.
Too early. We've got Tim to talk about, and then myself, and then we've got to get to the announcement. Tim, you got to.
Sorry, Alex's life. Look, the only one that I can remember, to be honest, is one that I wasn't actually in because I wasn't in the last couple of seasons of skips in Aussie Cup, but it was that one where you had, I think, 4 wide up going Road America and across the finish line, and you had, I think, Ben Snell on the grass. Yeah, and then you had 3 other cars going up the road. So
the only person who couldn't win the race was Ben Snell, that he decided to go down the grass on the outside and win.
Well, I can see how it's Ben Snell and 3 other cars. Right?
because Alex, you would never go on the grass. You're within the lines. You are very much within the lines.
He'd argue that I forced him onto the grass, and he's probably right too.
But no. But Snell is like 45 X's later. He, you don't even need to know who's in the car. You could see 4 green cars with no numbers, and you could just say that's Snell on the outside of the road.
No,
That's been the downside of our Aussie car the last 12 months is being in the same chat as the Milo guys and not being able to coordinate because I was like, we were set up like just stay left and he's just
all I had
little
to
bit
do
too
was
much.
hug that line. Anyway.
Actually,
okay.
I had
Qualify for the locked on if you want. We've got some skippers available if you want. And if you want to go through the qualifying process, you might make it.
I had one almost really, really good overtake in the oval round where I managed to make it into the iRacing not top 10. I was so close to doing the world's best wreck avoidance and making up about 15 positions and just got caught by Sean Doyle at the last minute and zigged when I should have zagged. And it was
some
all
would say
over.
that that you took out Sean Doyle in that instance, to be honest.
I was so close there. They got you. They missed me. I managed to navigate through and get through that one because remember I started right at the back because I was shirty from the first one. And I almost forgot to qualify. And then I remember we had a teams championship to win. And then the whole thing opened up and I snuck through. But I suppose it's not quite the same as the good story of almost making it and then getting totaled. So
Yeah.
I'll quickly, I don't have very many overtakes in my history, so it's all good. But there was an MX5 race, the one I won. The only race I ever won was an official MX5 race, and we're at Summit Point. So the left-hander turn 2 or 3 or whatever it is, where the fast left-hander, where everyone just uses the sandpit to come around. And we've got like 2 laps to go, and there's 2 guys are fighting it out. And one uses the grass, but the sand, but one uses too much of the sand, comes across, hits the other guy in front. They spin around, and I've got one decision. It's either zig or zag, or just put the foot down and hope for the best. And I put the foot down and hope for the best. And somehow they missed both. They came together again just after I went through. It was that perfect. They split open, and I went through, and they came together, and that was the end of it, and went through to win the race. But the one from SRW round 1 at Red Bull, where old mate, I've seen him coming down the inside, missing his braking marker. I just let him guide on past, just broke a little bit more, let him go past, and then just cut down the inside. So he overtook me, then I overtook him back when he went flying off the track and come back on. So that's probably the main ones. But let's get on to some announcements before we get into what I've been trying to get to for a while, which is the actual chatty stuff from the community. We've got
Michaela's driving for Locked On Lads.
Yeah,
He's
that's
leaving.
it. Michaela is no. We haven't done a charity stream for a while, so we did Bathurst 12-hour. I can't remember what we did for the last one. It was I didn't even race in it. It was Road America or something like that, or Road Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah,
I think
it was the 6 hour, wasn't it? I think. Anyway, we raised over $1,000 for both events, which was really good. We haven't done one since then. I had a friend or a colleague or someone out there reach out to us and say, hey, do you want to help us raise money for cancer through a company called Cure? And I jumped at the chance. They haven't announced the campaign yet, so I can't really go into too much detail, but he said I'm unrestricted. I could say whatever I want, but next week they're announcing it all. There's a 2-week period, 28th of April through to about the 11th of May, where we'll be raising money. And streamers raising money for cancer. Most people are just doing one stream. We're going to try and do a whole festival of stuff, as it's mentioned in chat here before. One of those things, obviously, broadcasting. The 2 broadcasts we do during them will be very themed towards raising money for cancer. The races that we stream during that time will be very much done towards that. I hope to do the live versions of podcasts where we very much cater towards raising the money for cancer. 2 things I want to look at. There's a SRW endurance race in that weekend. It's a 6-hour race, which we want to head towards as well. But the main thing is we've had a little thing in the background, haven't we, Tim, for a long time? You've had this artwork done up since I think even before Locked On was a thing for you. Locked On iRacing Legends Cup.
Locked On Legends. Locked On. Oh, geez, I'll have to get it up now.
Locked On Legends.
I wasn't prepared for this. No, it wasn't Locked On Legends. Locked On. Oh, sorry, it was.
It's just Locked On Legends. There you go.
Oh no, you didn't just prove Wilco right on
the
in front of
Legends
everyone,
League.
did you?
That's it. The Legends League.
Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah, I want to do a one-off race night, which will involve multiple races at the one venue, and that night will be all geared towards raising money for cancer as well. So keep an eye out for that. 28th of April through to the 11th of May. We will have in the next couple of days the actual website up where you can donate. We can start whenever we want because I've put us at a lofty goal. Now we did a couple thousand over the 2 events last year. I'm doing the one event this year, and it's going to be a longer period, and we're aiming for the 3,000 mark. So we've got a bigger community to pull from this time. I'm going to try and bring in other leagues and other people from other leagues and stuff like that to try and raise. Carl's already said he's very much on it, and you know these guys will help over there. So look, that's the big announcement. We've got some stuff coming. Obviously, the Locked On Legends will be broadcast live on Locked On Lads TV as well. So we will do that. So hopefully you guys can all come along. There will be themed streams. The theme is superheroes. So I'm looking in the background for superhero costumes for some of the streams. But yeah, there is definitely some money. If there's a money amount I hit, I will broadcast in a suit like Carl during the Anscast Under series. So
Actually, I reckon you should do it in your birthday suit.
that is against Twitch terms of service and get us kicked off the thing. We'll have to stream straight to Pornhub, which is not as big an audience for iRacing. But anyway, let's get into the actual things. That's one announcement. We'll get on to another one later on. But
Look, let's quickly, the legends, the best thing about the legends, I think if we have tons and tons of people doing it, it's easy for us to control because bashing up is okay. Like, you know, riding people off the road is not a good thing, but you know, door bashing and pushing and a little bit of bumping here is what legends are about, and particularly on short course tracks, they can be a lot of fun. It's quick, turnover, get laps done, you know, short, you know, not 50 lap races. You're looking 15, 20 lap races at most. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and you just, you know, that's the whole point of the event, right? A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and get a bit of money for it.
And if
Week 13, I did a really fun race in the Legends at the Rallycross track. That was good fun.
yeah, actually. Yeah. So look, if this leads to something, if there's people there, we may even extend this out to be a permanent thing. But we'll see how we go. But it's been very much pushed in the background, especially by Sheepy. Leon Williams is all about the Legends as well. He's had a Black Sheep Racing Legend painted up, ready to go for a very long time. So let's get into the actual thing. So this is from Cal, one of the guys I mentioned before, the original creators of Locked On Lads. So dear Wilco, if there's one thing I have observed in the years since I've known you, it's that you have a talent for creating communities, and the community surrounding the iRacing arm of Locked On Lads is a testimony to that. And someone has just decided to highlight it as I read. So as someone who's in the podcast trenches with you coming back week and week, delivering a regular high quality show takes its toll on even the most passionate of content creators. But you've done it, and you've got another successful podcast to the 1 year mark. Well done from the guys of the OG Lads. Oh, and my bank balance hates you for sucking me into the money pit called online motor racing. And to Braden, congrats on putting up with Wilco for this long. No, it doesn't get any easier, and thanks for that wheel too.
Which worked so well at the start.
Yes, it did get him in. Braden, the inside joke there is Braden sent him a wheel, said it's really good quality. Just like I sent Timmy here a microphone and said it's really good quality, and neither item has worked properly ever since. So,
look, I like to think it's Australia Post's problem. I'm assuming you hand delivered it, Wilco. That's the problem that happened.
Very well could have been, but yeah. So, look, thanks, Cal, for your feedback and your words, the kind words. It is really good, and we're looking forward to catching up with him again in PAX this year. So it's going to be really good to get down to PAX with everyone. We bought our tickets. It's going to be really good. I had a Pokemon podcast at one stage that I think I almost got to a year. So believe that if you want. I've had a couple podcasts over the years that have just random stuff. So Jay Kennedy says congrats to Legends. So thanks for that. Carl Withy, who is in chat, who gives Braden a gold star for saying that one of his interviews was the best. So I think he loves Alex McKellar as well now. Who is your favourite guest and why is it me? So we sort of answered that before. Did I go into Tim? Did you, any of the interviews in particular that jumped out at you that you got anything out of? Did you listen to anything?
Yeah, the J one. Yeah, the J one was for me was probably the one. Carl's was just as good, but I think the thing about Jay's was understanding the history and how much he had contributed some time ago, but the detail that he's needed to go into to get some of the stuff up that he's needed to, and the relationships he's built over that period of time, I think was really interesting. So. And look, it was a very poignant time as well, because you think about what happened days after that, and there was a lot of crap going on in the background. I just think it was not perfect timing. It's the wrong way to put it, but it was good timing in that his story was told only days before a lot of the crap was going on in the Australian community, and I think it really reiterated what he has been doing and did do for a period of time for the iRacing community.
Excellent. Yeah, Alex, John, I never got you before, did I? About interviews? Did you listen to any of them?
I've listened to probably every single episode, I think.
Oh, sorry.
But no, interview wise, like I said, anything that was Oval related, because it was like speaking or learning a second language for me. So yeah.
Can I shout out? I didn't really mention it too much before, but Madison Down. Obviously, Madison was one of those people who was up on a pedestal for me because he is such a talent, and he's obviously with the E Series and everything like that really come to prominence in the actual racing community as well as the iRacing community. He's been such a stalwart for so long now. But I think Braden will attest to this. So we do a 5-minute chat with him about him winning Scops or whatever it is, or winning Bathurst, I think it was. That 5-minute interview turned off the cameras, turned off the recording, turned into another hour and a half, I think, of just sitting there talking to him about random stuff. Like, this guy just had all the time in the world and was just up for a chat. He's such a great guy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were talking all things E-Series and just driving in real life. It was really cool.
It's one of those things I wish I probably couldn't record some of the stuff he was saying, but yeah, it would have been like just as good another hour podcast right there and then. So Matthew Mites gets into the Discord, by the way, lockedonlads.com/Discord. Where do you see the team and podcast being next anniversary? Which is an extremely interesting question, because I sat down and thought about it, and I said, what would I think we were going to look like here 12 months ago? And that's what I was saying before. At no stage would I thought we'd have 5 people here. We'd be doing news. We'd be having people record stuff for us. Some of the things that are happening in the background, the broadcasting, all that kind of stuff, I'd never have thought we'd get to hear. Brayden, I want to start with you first, because you've obviously been around for the year from the start. You were the original person. Where do you think we're going to be in a year? In a bin?
These grey hairs on the side of my head that are starting to come through. That'd probably be a little bit more.
They were already there.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to think similar in a sense. Like I don't think we're going to need to be booking out any TV time slots or things like that anytime soon. But I'd like to think that we've had some more interesting interviews. I'd like to have the chance to talk to a few more people within the community. Maybe get some people back, that we've had on before, and see what's changed. Hopefully doing some different kind of racing, which we kind of started to do now. Like, I think we've all, managed to. We all had that Skippy bug for a long time and really enjoyed the racing. But I know for me, it's been really refreshing to jump into something else for a little bit now. But mainly just still talking rubbish and hopefully learning some new things along the way. Like I said, as much as like I said with Ira's League for Aussie Car, taught me so much about racing and has definitely made me a much better driver than I was 14 months ago or whatever. I definitely think, committing to doing this and talking to some much more intelligent people than me has made me a better driver and, person as well. So I don't know. It's a tricky one, because who knows what the future, especially now at this day and age, you can't look more than a week ahead, let alone a whole year ahead.
It's very much a loaded question, but Michaela, if there's one thing you'd want to be still happening in 12 months, or the one thing you'd want changed, is there anything that jumps out at you?
Not rain.
Yeah, bring on the rain.
Oh, look, personally, just look forward to maybe getting back into a rhythm with my racing. It's been pretty disjointed. I looked at my profile the other day in terms of the drop off from a couple of years ago when I really raced a lot. And I think it's important to do that, to be able to contribute meaningfully to something like this. You've got to have that time on track. You've got to have that stuff fresh in your mind and those fresh experiences that you can really let your passion shine through for it. I'd really like to see SNL still going for another 12 months. We've had our biggest year yet after what wasn't our biggest year ever. And then, when it comes to these sorts of things here on a regular weekly basis, looking forward to maybe being able to contribute to that still in the next 12 months.
Alex, John, anything in particular?
No, I'd go with Braden. I'd like to just continue the way things are going. Like I actually I hadn't been doing a lot of racing up until the last 12 months. It was maybe really only those couple of occasional enduros. So it's one of those things, like you get burnout after a while. And I'd been doing it for 4 or 5 years. And like this last 12 months has sort of been my comeback, and then now doing something different out of the skippy into tin tops, and just it'll be interesting to try and develop new sets of skills in new cars and racing new leagues, and being in a bigger pond, so to speak, as well, like doing the AOG, and it's just like insanely fast people in there. So just going through that whole process of learning over again, how to be quick in a new car. And podcast wise, hopefully I'm still here in 12 months. There's a question further down.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
So no, I'll enjoy still being here and seeing where it goes, and I'll be along for the ride.
Sweet. Yeah, Tim, what do you reckon? 12 months. Where do you see what's happening?
I think, has Ash hit the note there in Twitch chat that you're going to have a Locked On Lads OnlyFans and you're going to be running it in your birthday suit? Maybe is that what it refers to?
I do what the fans want, mate. Wherever the money comes in, that's where we go. I tell you what, this ain't cheap.
No. Look, I would say, what I think's really cool is, and look, unfortunately, it's to the detriment of Aussie Car, and like it's a big part of it. And as I think the top split team and the Locked On Lads team were so heavily involved in the Aussie Car leagues that all the drivers within that have all wanted to branch out, and that's only that's a huge benefit to not only the two teams but the individual people, and the people have got to expand and develop and find what they're going to be passionate about. Otherwise, they're just going to go away once again and find another game to play. So
it's not a game.
And that, well, simulator. Yeah, I'll call it a game if it keeps crashing on me. So I think what is really cool is, unfortunately, to the detriment of Aussie Car, which is not great, and he'll come back. Like, there's no concern about that. But how quickly people from both teams have found other cars or found other leagues to catch onto and grab onto and run with, because I think that's really cool. And Cal's a perfect example of that. Look at Cal. Cal didn't want to leave V's when he started, right?
Yeah.
He was so passionate and loved V's, and now he's just, I think he's about to sign up to, or he has already signed up to. He signed up to. I think he signed up to Gentleman's Sim Club.
Oh, has he?
So
wow.
Yeah, to do GT3s in the AM club, the amateur. So he was talking about it. I don't know if it's happened. I've been away from it for the last week a bit, but. From that to TCRs, from that, did he go into skips? I think he went into skips for a little bit, did he?
No, he just went, it was V's, TCRs, and then he's been driving the Porsche. That's why I thought he was going to get into the Porsche. He was putting his nose in one of the Porsche leagues, the SRW one, I think it is. And I think he's been practicing with them as well. But yeah, the gentleman's one, that'll be good for him.
Yeah, it will be. And like, great group of guys to drive with, and particularly that category for him while he still continues to enjoy it and develop and all that kind of stuff is going to be great for him. But I think from, Locked On Lads in 12 months' time, or this podcast in 12 months' time, where's it going to be? Who knows? Who knows? I think the big key is being, honestly, my thoughts on it will be, people who want to join the group and the community and want to add their piece to it. Look how much has developed over the last 12 months from where it was to where it is now, and how much it can develop between now and next year. The key is for this to continue to grow and the community to continue to grow will be people bringing their talent, their expertise to come in and continue to develop it. There's the broadcasting opportunities you've already spoken about, the podcasts, been making sure that when we're talking, we're going to have a live broadcast that it's not advertised for tomorrow night and it's advertised for tonight, those kind of things. So
what you're saying is stop me from doing anything and things will run smoothly.
No, what I'm saying is, people coming in with expertise that can take pressure off you, but also the wider group. And, that's, everyone can add their 2 cents in and add value to where they can. And that's what the community is about. It's not about one person driving it. It's about everyone driving it to, to the common goal of the wider group.
So we're just going to stop the podcast, apparently. Franklin's on 999 goals and history's about to be made, whatever that means. I don't understand that text, but...
Can't we just live stream it?
Apparently. Braden's pretty excited. That's all I know. I've got lofty goals for everything I do, and you guys have had to put up with me talking about it for a long time. And the one thing I get told is stop trying to do so much. The common theme from about everyone in my life at the moment, that's where I'm at. But look, if I can get a live version of this happening once a week, and to do that, I think we're still a person or two short from where we really need to be able to do that. And have an actual, just a news and results podcast as a separate episode, which is no extra time for us because we record for 2 hours anyway. We're just basically splitting it in half, and we do half live and half not. But that's one of the things I do want to sort of approach. So we've got a little bit more options for people in the audience. Like we had the interviews and we had the actual main podcast. We just give people the options rather than having them sit through a 2-hour podcast, listen to us talk about ourselves, which we'll get to in a sec. But that's definitely something I've been talking about for a very long time. The broadcasting side, obviously, I'll address it now. I'm enjoying that right now more than racing. And I don't know what it is. I still need that fix of racing once a week, and whether it's officials or whatever it is, or Anne's car or practicing or stuff like that. But I'm really enjoying the broadcasting side of things, the producing and the commentary and that kind of stuff. So while ever I'm enjoying that, that's where my passion lies, then that's where I'm going to push at the moment. But that still brings some stuff into the podcasting side of things. That's no problems at all. But the what I've enjoyed this year is to be able to actually step back from the podcast when I've needed to. And I've definitely needed to, and be able to watch Braden be able to step up and take the reins and watch these guys be able to do it without me, which is something that I've always been fearful of with all my content in the past. So that's the main. I do want to get more interviews done, but once again, we need a bigger team to be able to do that. We need to be able to go, okay, Braden, you're not on for the next 2 weeks. Just go record some interviews with someone, or, you two you're just in charge of interviews for the next 6 weeks. And then we just release them when we can and stuff like that. That kind of stuff, because that interview content is some of the best content that I create. And even if it doesn't get the numbers, I enjoy getting people's stories out there. And that's what I enjoy about our interviews. We go in to tell a story about the person, not just, talk about how good they are as a racer. We want to find out what they've done in the past, how they got into it, and all that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that I like. So it's easy to go to Madison Down and just go, how are you so fast? Why are you so fast? All that kind of stuff. But it's, the stuff we found out about him that he does outside of racing is just some of the better content, I believe, anyway. So who knows? It's just going to come down to time. If my work eases back or anything like that, once the new house is built, all that kind of stuff, there's a whole heap of factors that could come into what we're going to be doing in 12 months. Like I said, we could be doing nothing in 12 months. We could be, playing something different or just not doing anything at all. But hopefully we're still going as strong, and we've still got the community in the chat like this in 12 months' time. Let's get into Nathan Verney. Does someone want to take this one?
Well, I can't read it. It's got my name in it, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Okay. Let's just go. I'm having think back to the start of the podcast and how things changed. And honestly, I couldn't even go back to think of what the first episode was like. But anyway, like a year ago, Braden and I were both around the 2K iRating mark, loving our Skippy and trying to make Sunday Night Lights top split. Braden has since gone on to over 4K and got great places in top split before spending 3 months without Skippy driving. Just quickly, when we started this podcast, Braden was never going to drive anything but a Skippy in his life, and now he's driving Scops. So it hasn't touched a Skippy for ages.
Exactly.
I definitely wasn't going to drive a V8, that was for sure.
That was definitely it.
Yeah.
I've stagnated at 2.75k. Gee, I'd hate to stagnate at 2.75k, Nathan, but anyway. And no top split appearances. Then again, there was a lot of references to my bad tyre and fuel management in the early episodes coming off the Bathurst 12-hour experience, yet I won my first league race later on through the only one stopper in an enduro. Goes to show that the podcast has extended beyond a small circle you had to start, and how we are and what our limitations are can change so much over just one lap around the sun. Very well written, very poorly read. Look, yeah, I think that's one of those things. Like, if you look at a review just of like Vernie, like that's a great example. We literally made fun of him because his fuel and tyre numbers were through the roof. Braden wasn't much similar, and especially when I was driving in there, I just obviously I don't use fuel because I just let the car coast around the track. But you know, Nathan was like that, and then when he won that race that he's talking about, that was actually a really special moment. Like, and we see things differently because it's Locked On Racing, so we've got a massive chat behind the scenes that you guys don't talk about, and that's something I'm really wary of sometimes because the Discord might seem quiet, but it's actually going off, but in the wrong areas where you guys don't see. But yeah, like some of the changes of the drivers, I think Cal is the perfect example. We talked about him before, how much he has grown over the last couple of months. Braden is just a phenomenal example of, pushing for top 10s and all of a sudden pushing McKellar for race wins, and then having McKellar on and being able to discuss where they're at and hearing the way he talks about racing now compared to what he did 12 months ago is just strange to me. But and it hasn't affected me at all. I'm just still laughing at the back. But has Braden, has he got his thousands goal yet or not?
What was that? Sorry.
Has he got his thousands goal yet or not?
No,
No?
3/4 time.
Okay.
3/4 time.
Damn it. What do you look? Obviously, Nathan's talked a lot about you. You guys go way back. What do you think of the feedback?
Yeah, well, even for me, like I think back to when Nathan and I were sort of representing Doctor's Orders Racing for Julian Mookie, my original teammate, before he's moved on to some pretty cool things with his Tech 1 Sim Sport as well. Like me and Julian used to race just in a private Discord chat because I couldn't think, let alone race and talk to all of you guys at the same time. Like I would be in the wall every third corner. And then it was sort of with Nathan, it was the same sort of thing. We had a couple of long nights in Discord where he was trying to coach me through around learning the Nordschleife the first time that the Skippies went there.
I remember that.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever been more frustrated in my life having to restart, and I spent 3 hours probably in a call with Nathan, just me whinging and complaining and moaning that I can't do it, and then managing to finally sort of string a lap together. No, not at all. And yeah, I guess he's right. Like, I remember, I think it was the first Christmas holidays from when I'd started iRacing, probably in like April or something, around about then. And I gained about 400 or 600 iRating in a couple of weeks. It was Alton Park and something else in the Skippies, and I made my first top split Sunday Night Lights race. Not knowing that the reason why I probably made it was because Alex wasn't actually broadcasting that night, so he was on his break, and then I didn't manage to get back in for a long time after that, and it was something that I was really trying pretty hard to do. That was grinding the iRating, trying to get up into that top split, and now like 4K is not even enough to get into the top split anyway. So I'd have to do a whole heap more grinding to if I wanted to go back and try and do that. But yeah, I it's cool to see how much progress there's been, and it's more money that's been spent. And I'm sure if we went back and listened to that first podcast, Wilco, I don't know how much your rig's changed since the first one, but I know mine's changed a little bit still since then.
It's not changed at all, mate. The wife said it hasn't changed at all. Don't you? Nothing's happened.
Yeah, it is cool to see. Like, you don't realize how much, I guess, you do make changes and things over the course of a year, and how much goes on. So it was a really cool reflecting on that after reading Nathan's post, and I guess a shout out to him as well, because he was really, him and Julian as well, to be honest, they were really my first two teammates. It's a bit of a shame that I don't get to race with Julian anymore, because I really did enjoy racing with him. I know he's asked me to race in a couple of things here and there, but I just haven't had the time to be able to do it. And then, Nathan, we kind of then both came over to Locked On, and really enjoyed it since. So I definitely think meeting those two people originally helped with my passion. And when you're doing it with someone else and you don't want to let them down, it kind of forces you to practice and those kind of things. So yeah, it was a pretty cool little reflection that he wrote up, and I'm glad to see that his the only reason why his iRating's not up closer to where mine is because he spends a lot more time doing other random races in between that we don't know about. All of a sudden he's driven a spec racer Ford, and or he's done, he's noticed that the radicals are somewhere where he likes, so he goes and does a couple of radical races that don't end up so good. So he'd be well over 3K if he was just sticking to one car and hoarding iRating like I was.
Yeah, definitely. I want to quickly touch on some things that have grown and changed over the 12 months, especially with you, Michaela. Like, watching Sunday Night Lights, and we've talked about on the podcast about where it was heading and where it is now, watching its growth to where it is right now. And look, giving it coverage in a podcast probably helped, but it's still the stuff that you were doing behind the scenes. But just watching Aussie Car grow to the point that it did, and obviously being extremely sad with what's happened to it now, and and it's hard to see whether us not covering it as much because we're not there, we're not giving it the passion that we were, is part of that or not. But either way, I feel sad for the result of it. But watching Anne's car now go, and I've had a dig at a few people in the background. It's like, oh, you're not qualifying for Anne's car, and you'll get there. And I'm like, I go to Aussie Car and I'm battling for top 10s, and now I'm battling for top 20s because I'm talking about it on the podcast and everyone's joining me. Now I go to Anne's car and I'm qualifying, but I'm talking about it, and then I'm not qualifying because everyone's racing there, and I'm like, I'm sick of it. But Sunday Night Lights, like, that's the best example. You're going from the iRatings to get into top split that you're getting to what you're getting now is ridiculous. Like, how's that journey been?
Yeah, it's been good. It's interesting you talk about they talk about influencers. I'm honestly amazed that in the circles that whatever you move in, if you are putting good content out there, the amount of people that gravitate towards what you're doing, they see the enjoyment you get out of something and the experience that you're having with it, and they just want to have a crack at it. A best example for me, beyond the stuff that you've just been talking about with your ANSCAR experience, I remember, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, I drove Euro Truck Simulator on my stream for about a month, right? Just because I was enjoying it. And suddenly everyone that I've been racing skips with was in doing Euro Truck, right? and then it just disappeared, right? It's just the circles that you move in can be influenced in that way. But yeah, look, for SNL, yeah, look, when I talk about a personal investment, people like yourself and Jay in what he does as well, sometimes there's a period of just grinding away where you're doing it for no other reason than you're just enjoying it, that suddenly it builds into something. So for us, I've been doing it now for, I think, 5 or 6 years, pretty much every week. There's a Sunday night and a Skippy race on. We've been doing it. And in the last 2-3 seasons, just when I was about to hang up the boots because I didn't think people were interested anymore, suddenly everyone recognised it for what it is and just hopped in. And during that time, other things have fallen away. Other long-standing, like there were soft races in the US and the UK time slots in particular. There was the 2K Cup, and it all just kind of fell away for different reasons. But if you just kind of stuck at it and really stuck with what you were doing and hopefully produced some good things, people turn up and support it. And to be honest with you, that for me has been the biggest reward behind the scenes, has just been the community support and the fact that people get a lot out of it. So for me, yeah, that's all it takes for us to keep going. But yeah, look, the growth in the last couple of seasons, and it hasn't been the quantity. Like I think COVID had an impact in a lot of areas beyond SNL, but including SNL. But what we've retained hasn't been a massive from a numbers perspective, but the quality has been immense. You know, I was saying on the forums the other day, there's been a handful of 5K plus strength of fields in the skips ever. And there's been, you know, almost all of them have been in the last 2 seasons on a Sunday night. And to have the first 6K soft in a skips. Now, 6K soft in a GT car or some these other categories is nothing to write home about. But in a skips, there's been one. You know, there's been one. And we had it on a Sunday night. So, again, support from the community is the standout there. And if people keep turning up, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, that's the key. Community, turning up. The way they are is just amazing. Like you said, the quality, and we've been watching the numbers drop off in everything in iRacing since COVID sort of vanished away. But to see you get the opposite with quality, it's been really great to watch anyway. Even the couple races I tried to do in split 18 or something or other, whatever I was in, but yeah, it was good fun. It definitely it's one of those pinnacles in the Australian iRacing community, I think, right now. So.
Look, can I just, before we move on, hear people like, you know, Braden and Nathan and others striving to get into that as a meaningful outcome. There are people like Mark Jeffrey I've talked about before who's written to me on more than one occasion and said that's his Formula One on a Sunday night. You know what I mean? And if I can give that experience to someone, I'm just wrapped.
Yeah, definitely. I want to quickly jump ahead a couple before we get on to Peter Baxter's one, which is, like I said, I wanted all kinds of feedback, and it is feedback which is really good to see. I want to jump to Mike. It was one I was actually going to put at the start of the podcast. He wants us to shout out to Guy Leach, who suffered a heart attack last night. This was back on the 18th of March. He's resting in hospital having a stent inserted. So I hope all that went well. I haven't heard back since, but shout out to Guy Leach and hope he is going okay. So there's that one there. But Peter Baxter, does someone want to read this one out? Because I feel like I've been talking all night.
Peter Baxter. Where are we? I've lost my page. Here we go. Hey guys, good on you all for reaching the 365-day mark. That's kind of cool. I agree. But I will give you some constructive, hopefully, criticism. I got here through the macro scandal because, frankly, you guys were the only people covering it properly. Now that's good stuff. The hard bit has been how long your following pods take. Guilty. So here is my advice: if you did some time management and kept your pods to 1 hour or less, you would get many more listeners. For now, we get about 45 minutes of your own racing, which is a bit narcissistic. No offense intended. Before you get to the news and what's going on. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see what you have raced in a week and how it all went, but it kind of drools. I could keep this to myself and nothing changes, or I could put it out there and you can consider it, or just write me off, you're cool. If the feedback sucks, let me know. Happy to leave the server if I've caused offense. If not, I hope the feedback provides food for thought and can help you become one of the best Aussie racing podcasts we have. After all, a tight Apex saves time, and time is money. All the best.
That is time is
Let's
money.
be clear, he's been booted.
Yeah, he's gone. No, he was in chat before. We actually made it very, very, very clear that we don't care. We're not going to kick anyone from the server on feedback. We want all kinds
Next week we will.
If it was feedback on Wilco, we'd all be kicked out already. So
that's it. No one's ever been kicked out for saying the truth. So, and honestly, Braden, we talked from the start. The first thing we ever said was, I kept on talking about was we're over 2 hours. We're over 2 hours. We need to cut this back. That's why we pulled the interview.
Originally, it was we're over half an hour. We're over our half an hour. We need to pull it back.
So that's why we pulled the interview section out, because we're like, that'll bring it back. They'll be both an hour each. It's fine. And then the first episode we did without the interviews was 2 hours again. And we're like, what have we done? but it is something I've been very much conscious of for a very long time. And as I mentioned before, like I would love to see that section of us just talking about ourselves, which is basically just like the idea of that is just three mates sitting on the couch, watching, having a drink, watching something on TV, and just talking about what they've been doing for the week. It's that kind of content that I want to create. That's what I've always created in the past with Man Cave, with Tom Clancy, with Ultra Super Mega. It's that just non-scripted, which we talked about before, just chatting about what's been going on, just shooting the shit with everyone, and just having a bit of fun. Then we get into the serious stuff. I've always talked about putting the serious stuff at the start and the other stuff at the back, and all this kind of stuff. And there's never been a spot that sits right. If I had my time to actually sit here and produce it properly, I would 100% do what I did before. We record, there's 2 distinct podcasts there that are an hour long each. And when we're recording them as a 2-hour thing and we're putting them out as a 2-hour thing. So what are your thoughts, I guess, on the 2-hour podcast that we put out, which borders on 3 hours when we chuck in all the edited stuff?
I agree to a degree, and like you said, it's something we've been conscious of for a long time. I guess not the pushback to that, just the one thing for me that I think comes out of us talking about our own racing is those little incidental stories that, you know, it might be about a pass that happened, but that leads on to a story about, well, how do you actually set up that kind of pass, or what did you have to do to try and be patient to get through later in the race. And those kind of incidental stories, if you don't talk it out, don't come out, if that makes sense. It'll just be like, drove around Red Bull Ring, finished 7th, came at, got on the podium in the second race, and third race had a DNF and got punted. That was my week, and it kind of ends there, as opposed to breaking it down. Now, some weeks we probably could be shorter because maybe there isn't really that much to talk about through the races, and maybe we didn't actually have any really good talking points coming out of it. But I definitely think at times some of the best things that we've talked about have come through those chats together and breaking down the things that have happened throughout those races. And I think, a couple of times we have had people say, oh, really, thank you for talking about that part, because I've found that I do this in my racing as well, and it made me think of it from a different perspective and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things. It's a hard slog, especially for new people who've coming in at the. Look, obviously, our numbers went through the roof with the cheating scandal. And the other thing is, I'm not hugely about the numbers. Like, I enjoy obviously seeing those numbers go through the roof, but I'm never one who creates content going, how do I create it to get more listeners? But like I said, I've always been conscious, and we've had many discussions about in the past of that whole 2-hour podcast. I've never done a 2-hour podcast before. It's always been tight on the hour, we finish it and that's the end of it. But this one I've just sort of been letting flow, because sometimes it's good content, sometimes it's bad content, but all the time it's content that's probably someone's going to get something out of, as you said, Braden, and it does lead to those interesting things. And I think that's where that round table discussion, and we've thrown things out like that. We had a full series lined up of talking to just your random everyday iRacer for about 15-20 minutes. That was the series we were going to do. We just never got time to do it. We had a series of just roundtable discussions, like overtaking, like etiquette, about all this kind of skill-based things, and just all these different things, rigs, all these different type of things that we were going to do. Never got time to do it. So at this stage, we're stuck with what we've got. If we had more time, more hands, we could definitely split things off and make different things under the brand and be able to take. Cool. So we don't need to talk about this stuff anymore. That's in that series. That's where you're going to get it. So we can just focus on this side of things. But it's like I said, time. I've said multiple times, time. We didn't expect it to get to where it is right now. I would love to have someone covering the cheating scandal properly, like actually going in, investigating things and talking to people. But once again, time, just don't have it. So any other feedback or things like that on the duration? Alex, John, I haven't heard from you in a while. Do you like the 2-hour podcast we put out?
For me, I discovered the 1.5 times button a long time ago. I can't listen to anything at normal speed anymore. Actually, I don't know
Yeah,
if that's a thing, but it's
it
broken
is.
me. So podcasts, yeah. So any podcast is not that long for me anymore. But no, in all seriousness, though, along with what Braden said and what I said earlier in this episode, with on the unscripted elements of the podcast is what I really enjoy, and often that is that first segment, let's call it, is where it comes out. And it's like we were talking a few weeks back about our experience of doing the Bathurst 12-hour, and we discovered that Alex uses front tires like they're Oreo cookies or something, which is we've been Alex and I've been racing I've been on for like 5 years, and Alex a bit longer than me, and he's always just said, sorry, this is like bashing you, but anyway, he's always said,
What
oh,
we're here
I'm no
for.
good in I'm no good in tin tops and all this sort of stuff. And it was only just when we were all in the car together, same car, same setup, same stint length, that all of a sudden we've discovered this something that's going on that could explain all of that. And then that's something that other people might not even realize that have been doing this for years and years. And it comes out and then becomes an interesting sort of talking point, which comes out of that sort of off the cuff format. So for me, I like it. Maybe we can be a bit more conscious of how long, because sort of we're sitting here talking and then it's like, oh, it's 45 minutes already. We better get on to the news or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. For me as a listener as well, because I've like I said, I've listened to every episode, and then I've done maybe, I don't know, half a dozen or whatever with you guys now. For me as a listener, I just chuck it on in the background sort of thing, and then if it becomes brawl, then I tune out, and then I pick up on those bits that I like, and for me, I've just got it always playing. So, and I think you've started putting timestamps in now as well, so it's not like you're not obliged to listen to.
I
If you
do
want to go
try
straight,
to. There are some times
yeah,
where the edit just goes up and it just gets dumped, and I'm sorry. That's fine.
yeah. So yeah, like you're not obliged to listen to the whole thing if it's not your thing. That first part's not your thing, and you're here for the part 2 segment. Go for it. But then at the same time, maybe we should come into it talking about our racing, but then maybe thinking about what's that one key point for the week. Like Alex's tire usage or whatever it happened to be. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, that time that Alex McKellar really sucked, we wanted to just pick that one out each
we
week.
just didn't labour it at all. But
it's just the most recent one. Sorry, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like maybe we come in with that one topic, and it might expedite that segment a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, look, more preparation would be great. And I love my personal favorite point of this whole conversation right now is I'm complaining about not having enough time and all that kind of stuff. And we dribble on for a 2-hour podcast where if I had to just condense that to an hour, I'd have an extra hour of my life to be able to do all this stuff that I want to do. The irony is perfect, but yeah, it's I quickly before I get on to Alex, I don't get a lot of time to socialize, to be honest. Like I'm working 95% of the time. I get some time with my family, I get some with this, but to get time to unwind and relax, this is the time I get to do that. And that's where my podcasts have always been. It's always been a force of me to get together with my friends to just chat. And that's where the content comes from. And at the end of the day, if someone's listening to it, cool. But at the end of the day, it's giving me an hour, 2 hours with friends to just sit there and talk about what's been going on in the week, which part of our Discord is mental health. And that is a big part of it, but just being able to talk about stuff, whatever you want during the week. And it happens to be a podcast that people want to listen to as well. But that's where that's why I don't put a huge amount of prep into it. That's why I don't put a huge amount of other things into it, because at the end of the day, if I shrink that time down, like that's only an hour I'm getting with people where I could be having 2 hours. Just and that hour then becomes more work because I've got to make it, so it's sort of less enjoyable. But Alex, you were going to say?
Oh, look, I was just reflecting on. I think the guys have actually covered what I was going to say in the end. But shout out to Peter Baxter. Constructive putting stuff constructively takes a bit of courage.
Yeah, definitely.
Standing up for that, and well done, sir, for doing that. The one thing I would say, I really, the thing that got me into podcasting originally, both in terms of listening and doing, and everyone probably knows the Joe Rogan experience. What really appeals to me out of that is the long form conversation where you get to dive in and you get to expand and you get to really potentially hear an authentic version of someone rather than a scripted, pre-canned, here's what my publicist said. Not that, my publicist isn't knocking down the door, right? But I think from that element, you get it. I think, could we tighten it up? Absolutely. Even spending 15 minutes worth of thinking about what we're doing in a race to get that message would absolutely be the thing. But I'll stop now because obviously we're going too long, right?
Now, was that Buddy got his 1,000, or was that you just wanting to put a hand up?
Here we go. There we go. There's 1,000.
There you go. Cool. We stopped
And
it for
crowd
that.
is on the crowd has went on the field.
Oh, really?
Yes.
One of those moments in history. Wow.
Like,
You heard live on the
probably
podcast.
20,000 people. Like,
Everyone.
I know
everyone.
this is an iRacing podcast, but for context, for anyone who doesn't watch AFL football, there's a good chance that this will probably never ever happen again in football. The way that defensive structures and things like that are taken over the game, I don't think people will see someone kick 1,000 goals for a very, 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 very long time, if ever again.
It's crazy. The crowd. The crowd. I would have thought the crowd would have been, pretty. Obviously when Tony did it, umpteen years ago, you could probably get away with it now. But the whole crowd is flocking to the middle of the ground.
Isn't 5,000 a stint on the crowd? They just made a motz out of that.
Well, when the AFL CEO goes, I know I'm supposed to say don't do it, but you kind of got to do it, right?
Yeah, that's something pretty special. Tim, do you have any comments on the length, or are we going to go into?
Yeah. Like just quickly, I think there's a couple of parts to it. I think for me, and that is one. There's a lot of people who said they wanted to share their results on the podcast that haven't, and for every reason, it's not finger pointing exercise. Far from it. It's people get busy, and to record that and then put it on the podcast takes time. But what I would say is that you think about some of the leagues that we have covered over the period of time and how they've grown during that period of time. And it's not all because of this podcast, but it's exposure. So I think for those other leagues out there that want exposure, it's good exposure. It grows the leagues. You think about Aussie Car during the last 12 months, not right now, but during the last 12 months, you think about even ANSCAR, the extra attention we're starting to pay to it now because Wilco and I have been racing in it. SNL to a degree, probably not in the top split because there's not a lot of Aussie drivers there at the moment, but in some of the lower splits. And then, some of the other previous leagues, you think back to, AOG and the Porsche Cup, and when Porsche got big, yeah, absolutely. Some of that was driven by the 992, but we're talking about it, and now Alex is driving in that. You think about Scops and some of the other leagues, some of the leagues that are through there. So I think that's part of it. And I think what Peter has said is justified, absolutely. But there's also another part to that I think that people, to a degree, and why I started to enjoy listening to the podcast, and that was not because I was with Locked On Lads, but it was because I enjoyed hearing the story, or the story from of the drivers getting from one point to another. Like, I'm never going to be Madison Down, but I'm a competitive driver, and I love to compete with everybody, and I want to keep getting better. But I want to also understand what certain drivers do in certain situations. And I think, I can't remember the exact example, but I think in the last podcast that Braden, Alex, and I did, there was something that popped up, and I stopped no, I didn't stop the podcast, but I stopped mid podcast and said, hey, what do you do, and what do you do in this situation? I think those are natural conversations that occur that I think the listeners enjoy. And that goes back to some of the things that Braden said, that, without having a conversation about what we're doing, we're not understanding some of the opportunities to talk about and some of the experiences that we've experienced during that period that then we can all learn from. And a lot of the people we talk to aren't the top 5% of drivers in the country. The people we're talking to are likely, I'm guessing this, but I assume that they're, the 25 to 75% of drivers in Australia. So, hopefully we can add a little bit to what they listen to and their experience, and they can relate to it. And that then, helps them to enjoy the experience with, iRacing.
Yeah, definitely. I want to quickly. I'll bring Ed Foster in here in chat. Serious comment now. I really enjoyed the episode where you went through all the background behind trying to make the Daytona 500. Interested to hear it from that side. Enjoyed that one, and he did message me in the privately to let me know that. So, it's that kind of stuff. And as you pointed before, the results, like the results and news side, is something we want to expand on, but without having a dedicated person to be able to record the news and the results for people, it is relying on the community to record the news, or not so much bringing us the news and telling us, hey, we're doing this in our league. I'm happy to sit there for 5 minutes with someone and record a 5-minute chat with them about what's happening in their league if there's something happening. I can do that, no problems at all. We can slot that in. Let's say that 5 minutes turns into 10 minutes like it always does. You record your 5-minute bit for the results. All of a sudden you do 4 or 5 things like that, and our news and results podcast is pretty much done before we even start. There's an hour of content we don't have to produce. It's already there. It's obviously relying on you guys in the community to do it, but it's also freeing us up for more time to be able to do other things. And we've had people do it, and that's great. And Carl does it week on week, and I know a few people have tried to, but time is a problem for everyone at the moment. And but if we can get more consistency out of that, or someone dedicated to chase that up, or do that, or sit with people and do that, we can definitely then start splitting things up and making things a lot more manageable for those people out there. And I want to give people options. That's the end of the day. That's what I want. Let's move on to a couple comments from some guy called Tim C. I don't know who that is. A big part has been wanting to cover and discuss other leagues, but we always... Oh, is this a comment back from Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the one I wanted to get to was, is someone getting sack? Someone getting the sack? No. We have too much stuff we want to do with not enough time, so no one's getting the sack. If anyone wants to leave, more than welcome to. I thank you for your time, but no one's getting the sack. In fact, we need more people, more hands on deck.
There's the door.
That's it. No. So other than that, we talked about Mike. We've got David Jenkins over on Facebook. I'm interested on your thoughts on sims like ACC, AMS2, and R Factor. There's been a bundle going around where that's pretty much been almost free for everyone. So have you guys been doing any of the other sims at the moment?
Not at the moment. I've raced R Factor. R Factor was my precursor to iRacing. When iRacing was released, I went, who pays to play, right? Like as in, subscription-based stuff. And then, of course, here we are. But at the time, R Factor was brilliant. Loved it. A lot of Aussie tracks, a lot of homegrown content, racing around, Malala or Emeroo or wherever was brilliant. Racing a couple of leagues, even raced a V8 in that thing. Didn't really find open wheelers until iRacing, to be honest. But there was some people who popping up. There's even a guy in the Anscar League who I used to race in the same team as in Mad Dog Racing. He's still racing now, and he had a terrible race when you had your shocker at Daytona, I think it was. Wilco, his name escapes me now, but anyway, so I've been doing that for a long time prior to iRacing, but not since. Assetto Corsa looks interesting, although Gran Turismo's come out. Any of you guys try that?
Yeah, I've been putting a fair bit of time in Gran Turismo. It's weird, like Gran Turismo growing up was this massive sim. It was this amazing sim that I was enjoying. Got me right into it, getting the wheel and all that kind of stuff. After doing iRacing for so long and then jumping into Gran Turismo, I'm like, okay, it's a very good arcadey sim, I guess. It just doesn't feel the same. Like you feel almost on rails at times. Using your controls is obviously a huge difference, and I'd love to be able to hook the PlayStation 5 up to the rig and have a crack at that. And it probably would feel better, but it just feels off. And no damage, sort of being able to bump off the walls. I've enjoyed it I've said this to a few other people in the past, that I've enjoyed it for the fact that I don't have to do the set up the overtakes. My car's faster than everyone else. I'm starting from the back of the grid. That's the whole thing of getting through the field. It's just taking that mind stress away from it, but it's a very different feel now. Looks amazing, but yeah, it's definitely not one like if you set up to a rig, no problems at all. I think it'd be great, and I think it's a really good way to get into Sims, but it just doesn't have the feel of iRacing. Assetto Corsa, I tried to get into it. I couldn't get the VR to work properly on it. That's when I sort of walked away from it. But I do want to get back because it had the things like the weather and that kind of stuff. So, the more people out there doing it, the better it is. We've talked about before for growing everything. So, yeah, they're all good. There's just nothing's got me like iRacing has. Anyone else?
No, it's the human element of iRacing, which is really the winner. Like I've tried Assetto Corsa, but the matchmaking was horrible and the netcode was horrible. You know, even the cars, the cars of the other people on the track, they don't look to move realistically. I found, at least anyway, when I was playing just random online lobbies. So that was a big turn off, and the matchmaking is not that great. So you've just got all sorts of skill levels in a race, and so it wasn't close. It's just it didn't you know match iRacing at all in that regard. And I played a lot of not Richard Burns Rally. What's the other one? The Dirt Rally when that came out.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic fun, but on more on the controller. But then, you know, the new version of that came out and it was basically the same as the old one, except you had to pay for a whole heap of content on the new one. Ironic, you know, still would be cheaper than iRacing, but for me, I don't know. Like iRacing just it has something that always brings you back, and I think it's that human element and the fantastic matchmaking, the variety of cars, which you know is a good thing or bad thing, but there's something there for everyone. Especially if you go to look for leagues, and then you get to leagues, and the leagues are so well run and easy to jump into. Yeah, I just and you know my feelings on Gran Turismo now. I played all the older ones, but just for me now, it's iRacing or nothing.
Yeah, I enjoyed Gran Turismo for the love letter. I think I put in a tweet the love letter that it gave to Gran Turismo fans. Like the story it tells and all the familiar things that it hits on, and you go, oh, I remember this, I remember that. This feels amazing. But yeah, it's just it's different. iRacing's broke me for Gran Turismo, which is sad. But yeah. Any final thoughts on any other Sims out there? Because I don't get time to play it, let alone iRacing, let alone anything else at the moment. So
I haven't really jumped into any other Sims. iRacing was my first sort of foray in because of when I saw the Supercars E series and kind of went, oh, this is cool. Like I've never seen something like this before. If real V8 supercar drivers are jumping in and racing on it, it must be pretty cool, and sort of haven't looked back from there. Obviously played all Gran Turismos and things like that when I was a kid. You know, I remember chucking the DualShock controller on the ground and putting my shoe on the analog stick to push it forwards and leave it running for 6 hours to get 300,000 credits for a race I didn't actually do.
Yep.
But apart from that, I've played a little bit of the latest F1 game, but just on the Xbox that I've just got in the room, just as a bit of a boredom laying around. I'll just play a little bit of racing on that, and even just from playing that on controller, like it's not the same. Like you just don't get the same satisfaction from it. So yeah, no other Sims for me at this stage.
Even like Grid Legends just came out. I haven't even touched it yet. I was a huge Grid fan, and even on a controller, that game feels great, and I followed it, but just can't get into anything else at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for that question. Let's move on to some final comments from some pretty weird looking people. Jay Kennedy replies to one of our posts saying, "Who are you?" So thanks for that. David Haynes replies to that with 1 year anniversary of our podcast recordings before they get uploaded. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I don't know if I can keep apologizing, but yeah, sorry for that. They were good interviews though. Hearing about still just go back to David Haynes one, like the journey we went on with David Haynes on his interview from a cat from his eating to his racing in real life over in America, where he just rocked up and the car was.
How good was that? How good was that? Just rocking up at a track and you got a license? Yeah, sure I do. Yeah, I'm good.
And yeah,
And then
it's-
driving with a stuck clutch for part of this part of this endurance race he does. It was at Indy, right? It was
at Indianapolis.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Of all things to talk about, and like he's going again this year from everything I've seen on his socials. So
there's more to him than just excellent puns. It really is. Yeah.
well, I don't know about excellent puns, but gee,
And not to mention the eating.
yeah, the stories of his eating prowess is just phenomenal. And some of the pictures and of the stuff he can, it's just it was a ride. And I apologize that it took so long to get out, but that was just a case of time once again, as I keep on saying, and I apologize for everyone who wants us to bring out this stellar content to them at as much as we can. But yeah, my life's been pretty shit for the last 6 months, to be honest. So I'm glad we've brought this much to you. I want to shout out, I haven't shouted out sponsors yet, but Ash in chat there, Brewster Coffee coming on for a year from the start, believing in us from sort of only about 15 episodes in, just coming up with a year sponsorship straight up. Thank you to him. Clinton Davies, thank you for all the effort he put into with us. We've got a new one coming back with 24/7 race control or whatever the new name is for that. That's going to be happening fairly soon. So thank you for their support. And thank you for everyone's support over the last 12 months. It's been pretty phenomenal, to be honest, to see where it's all come from. I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, thank you, everyone. I want to give an announcement, though, right at the tail why we're doing it now, but we should be doing it at the start. We're coming on board for the Australasian Supercars E-Series Championship. We're going to be their broadcaster as of May 8th for their new season. So you'll get me and Carl at this stage, unless someone does want to come on and learn how to produce or actually do the production for us as well as the side. We do need more people because basically it's me and Carl doing as many as we can. This is a 12-week start. We will be covering their oval V8 races for a year on a Sunday night, or for a year for 12 races on a Sunday night, going up against SNL. I apologise. Sorry about that.
I was in there. I was thinking, I'll have a word to Wilco. Maybe I can help out just behind the scenes on that one. And then he tells me it's a Sunday night. Well, stuff is all there.
Yeah, that's it. But really, like Raymond Yeager is the man behind that. He's been chasing us for a while, and I was getting a chance to get back to him. But he's obviously through the podcast. He the content we've created on that, and then obviously the start we've had with the broadcasting, which I just want to touch on quickly. We've just got a massive comment just coming to chat, which I'm going to have to get to in a sec. The broadcasting side of things now, McKellar, you've been doing it for ages, and you enjoy it, and gives you that different thing. But Tim, the broadcasting as a person who watches it and that kind of stuff, like what's your feedback there straight from the start? Because I've been like, it's tough to do it, but how's it coming across? What did you expect to what it became, I guess?
So you mean our
broadcasting? I don't want to talk about what I thought, because I'm not watching it back. But what did you expect to what we put out? Because I'm pretty proud of it.
I think the commentary was better than I expected, to be honest, and that's no dig on anyone. I think you're a natural at it. Carl, we know, is a natural at it. He loves to talk and is able to talk really, really well. He's able to articulate himself quite well. But also, I think, we talk, you and I talk every single week. So I know how you express yourself and you communicate, but I
barely communicate, to be honest.
No, you do. You communicate. There's not, lots of F's and shits and all that kind of stuff like Braden, but it's
Excuse you. Excuse you.
Am I lying? Is there any lying there?
No.
Find the evidence.
So yeah, look, I think you're a natural at it. I actually think you and Wilco, as you and bloody yeah, Carl. You and Carl actually work really well together because you to a degree you're quite different. the other side of it, the camera work you've been working on, you've been getting better at. The opportunity is the overlays, and that's on me. So I'll continue to work on that. And we've already sent through a new deck for new different things. But for me, it's just about developing that experience for the people watching it and making it a more enjoyable experience, and getting also our branding, so the Locked On Lads branding aligned with the broadcast. So that's something that takes time, and ATVO is not a simple program. And then obviously fitting the software, the images into that, and the way that it appears on TV all looks very different and is its own level of technical space that I'm not used to. But
Mate, you could spend a lifetime in that thing and never finish.
Yeah, 100%. So, we've got some things that we'll put onto the stream soon, which will be uploaded soon, and that's just on the next level. Is just Locked On Lads TV 2.0, and that'll continue to develop as we as we see things that we think we need to develop and change and make better for the experience for not only the people watching it, but also the leagues to really enhance the viewing for that league and promote their league. And even I said to Wilco, when it was a couple of days ago, after watching F1 the first weekend, seeing what they've done from last season to this season, going, what, that just makes me think about, what can we do this week? Like the little things like the yellow flags. It's such a simple thing, but the way that we've done yellow flags, green flags in the new update that we'll have on the broadcast soon is different to what we had before, and it's different to what Anscar's had before. But then I saw the F1, and I just didn't even think about it. I thought it was such a cool idea to have the yellow flag around the edge of the positions all the way down to the bottom and around the bottom, and just thinking a little bit outside the box. So that's created a bit of
literally outside the box.
The one thing that the thing I moved away from ATVO was because of the complexity and the time that it cost me, honestly, because any idea you have just takes hours and hours to implement if it's fresh and hasn't been done before. I shifted away from that, and it's probably to my detriment because I haven't brought anything fresh to the production value in a few seasons now, but it also came on the back of a period where the investment wasn't sort of growing to anything. So that's one thing that I'd probably spend some more time on if given half a chance. But the one thing, and I remember I did exactly what you did. I started looking at some F3 broadcasts. I started looking at some F1 broadcasts and all the rest of it, and thought, there's some great ideas. The one thing that I would love to do is the Halo telemetry. You know how on F1, how they've got the telemetry of the car across the halo when they go to an onboard gyro shot. I was really tempted to do that for a long time, but I don't know. We'll see.
There is so much you can do in there. Like
maybe I can find something for the Xfinities.
Yeah,
a new version for the Xfinities.
Hopefully, because I spent a weekend. I think I lost. I don't even know what I did. I didn't actually use any of it, but it's there in the background. But I still can't even get the gridding to work properly at the moment. And one thing we've talked about Jay Kennedy so many times, but I reached out to him and he's like, yeah, I'll help you out, no problems at all. And this is like technically a competitive broadcaster and one of the most intelligent men in the production league. And he's like, yeah, I'll help you out. Someone who's just starting up doing,
I had live streams of it and just look what I'm doing. This is all good. They develop their own camera packs for things. Yep. They're all published on Google Drive. You just go, hey, I said, Jay, can I use your stuff? And yep, no worries, off you go. All good. How good is it?
Yeah, no, he's great. So we've got more feedback here in the chat. This is one I was going to get to from across the ditch. Chris Cohead. Sorry, I stuffed up. Eid? Anyway. Great work, guys, on the 1 year. I came across the podcast about 6 or so months ago looking for a New Zealand, Australian iRacing podcast. Ended up using downtime at work to re-listen to past podcasts. I apologise for that, I really do. To catch up on the new ones, Luke, like the setup and enjoy your guys' banter. It's a great listen. Have bumped it to one of the on track in the NASCAR trucks. Yes, from your livery. Has bumped into one of you in the tracks. Yes, I do remember this actually from livery. If you want some free advertising, I'll put a logo on my team's car. Yeah, happy to do that. No problem. Yep. Happy to let you do that. Just reach out, let us know. Apologies for the bad spelling. Oh, look, that's actually better spelling than I would do. Look at the just about everything to do with tonight's production. Come and chill with you with yous instead of come and chill with us. Spelling is not my first and best thing. Steve Hoppett in Facebook says that R Factor days were great too. So.
Steve Hoppett, Mad Dog Racer himself.
Yep.
He's a gun. Yeah.
Yes, he's become a very vocal supporter of ours with our streams and broadcasts lately. So thank you very much for that. Thank you to everyone who does share, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I know I bang on about it all the time, but it really does make a difference. Just the comments, the shares, the likes, the analytics side of things just makes a huge difference. We're not very big, so exposure is at a premium. Just one little share or like makes a huge difference to us. I think we've banged on long enough. We are at the 2 hour and 5 minute stream mark on a podcast where we had no notes, no nothing, just questions from the audience. So I enjoy that side of it. Sorry to everyone who's listening for too long. I want to go top to bottom on my screen. So I don't know if you guys know the same order I have, but just wrap up your thoughts on, I guess, the last year, starting with McKellar.
Before we do,
What have I missed?
I just want to quickly touch on it. I know it's not iRacing, but surely we have to give some kind of quick summary of the Formula One from last weekend, right? Like, complete set of new regulations, a whole heap of craziness. Can we just do a real quick 5 minutes? Just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to go into the news and results podcast right now, guys. Bang in for another hour. We've got results to chuck in here. We've got F1 Form Fantasy to chuck in here. We've got everything. So strap in. We've got another hour to go, guys. Go, Braden.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly see what people's thoughts were on the racing from last weekend. Obviously, we've got another race this weekend, which is bloody awesome. Like, I'm so pumped to have racing back to back. But like, how cool was it to see a completely mixed up grid from what we've seen from the last like 3 or 4 years? Like, Formula One for me, apart from last year, I got back into it because I'd been so much into racing through iRacing, had died for me like a long time ago because it was just the same stuff every weekend. You know, watching Hamilton win race after race after race after race. And, you know, whatever your thoughts and opinions are on last season, for me, it was just good to see someone else win. But to see cars like, you know, Magnussen coming 5th in a Haas, you know, from a team that couldn't even finish a race last year was an achievement, let alone get inside the points. And then, you know, have a race winner like Charles Leclerc. Obviously, the craziness with the 2 Red Bulls just dying. I just thought it was an incredible weekend of racing for me. So I just wanted to get that in there because I thought it was super enjoyable. I don't know what you thought about it, Tim.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think for me, the you think about the things that have changed this season, and you know, your point about Haas. Think about if Mazepin was still in that car, and would they have got that result? You know, they definitely would not have. The way that shakes up the whole grid. You know, Red Bull performed extremely well as everyone expected. They'll be back. Like, their issues they've already spoken about. It was a fuel issue. I don't know if I completely buy it because I don't see how Perez's car locks up on that corner on the first turn 1. Like, if it's a fuel issue, why does the car lock up on the corner? That doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense for Verstappen's car. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm not a Ferrari fan, but I love seeing Ferrari up the front. I love the fact that both those guys are great drivers, and I love seeing them both up the front. I love seeing the fact that Hamilton now has to really prove himself in a car that isn't the best car, and it showed last week because he was still there. He was still behind, but he was still there, and in the game. And Mercedes will come back. It'll only take a couple of races, and they'll be back in there. You know, it's great to see Alfa Romeo, like, you know, seeing Bottas up there, like, far out. Like, how good was that? It's such a great result for Bottas, particularly after, you know, being stuck between, you know, where they were, you know, from where it was, you know, Mercedes last year now to being up near, you know, Williams, up near
Mercedes.
The two Mercedes cars. I think it's just fantastic. And this track is interesting. There's been some significant changes in the track this week. The swerving section that everyone was concerned about last year's had 1.5 to 2 meters added to each side of the track, so that'll take away a lot of the danger. The last corners had a significant change to it, where they've added a couple of meters to the outside of the track so they can keep a bit of speed through the corner. So that'll be interesting. But it's exciting, very exciting. I'm excited for it. I think it's good to see a change. The cars really look amazing on the track. I think the new design looks really cool. I think the initial pictures of them and what they had was they looked a little bit comical, a little bit fake, if that makes sense, like a little bit plastic. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. But on the track, painted, they look fantastic, and what the developments that the teams have had is brilliant. I'm excited about it, and I've been stuck into F1 for some time now, and this is a really exciting change. And you know what? I'm really excited about the fact that the next race is in Melbourne. It's in Australia, and that's going to be amazing to see the new corners. I saw on a different point. I saw the new corners for Spa, and the first development for Spa today on, I think it was Instagram or Facebook. The new corners on Spa look cool, like really cool. Small modifications similar to what Melbourne's had. So yeah, all good, all exciting stuff happening.
Is that enough for you guys talking about F1?
Two things.
How?
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just how has nobody mentioned McLaren?
Thank you.
I was going to, but I wanted to say that.
Stunning race weekend, like just all the changes and everything in terms of where the fields are. And I was stunned when I saw the results, right? Or watching the race and all the rest of it. McLaren at the back, worst thing ever. And the cars, the difference between the visuals on the cars, how they look from last year to this year, I don't know. I felt like we've gone from the 60s to the Jetsons. You remember the old Jetsons cartoon with the space age cars and all that? Yeah. They may as well be flying. They look that kind of strange and alien. Anyway, but I loved it. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, but think about too, poor Lando signed a 4-year contract with McLaren. Are they going to be screwed for the next, until the next regulations come in? Who else we got? George Russell.
The only thing good about McLaren was that Ricciardo beat Lando. That's all.
Was, yeah, I know. But George Russell finally in the not the championship winning team, but in the Mercedes, and he's missed his chance. Like, has he missed his chance to win a championship? Ferrari finally have a good looking livery, I think, in 20 years.
How hard is it to stuff up red, really?
It's basically the same livery every year, but some reason sometimes it looks rubbish and sometimes it looks amazing.
Yeah, so
last year they added green to it.
Yeah,
that's why. And this year they've added the.
They were moving in the right direction. Then they should have just kept going with that.
Yeah, I think they've finally. I think it goes back to those 90s Ferraris, right? Like they had that dark red, I think, in the 90s. So that's good. But yeah, and make or break year for Danny Rick too. Like if he screws this one up, then he's gone.
Yeah. And one other thing that was really cool. You go, Tim.
No, you go.
One other thing that I thought was really cool was, I don't know, I think it was Hamilton when he came out of the pits after that first pit stop, and his tyres were cold and they were dodgy as. I felt so good about myself when I drive a Skippy and we have to change the fronts and I have no control of the car. It made me feel really good about myself.
I hope that, because Verstappen said, "Why are you holding me back on my outlap?" I hope he went back and watched that replay and went, "Oh, okay, fair enough."
Yeah. So how so I know Wilco wants to get past F1, but we don't. So what are your thoughts on McLaren? Do you think they're going to continue on this path, or obviously there's going to be upgrades come? How long do you think those upgrades will take? I personally think with the amount of sponsors they get, because they're making the most noise about the sponsors they're retaining for a long period of time at the moment. So Cisco, Google, there's some of the sponsors. They're the big ones that have been announced in the last week and a half. I imagine the story they're selling to these guys is that we've got big upgrades coming and they're going to be here in the next couple of weeks. But I don't imagine we're going to see it before Melbourne. It'll probably be the next, because there'll be a gap after that. I don't know, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I think it's a 2 or 3 week gap after that. So I imagine it's going to be that next race. But Do you guys think that, or do you think it's going to be a longer term thing?
Correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have a good track record after new regulations, right? I think that's something that's happened in the past where they've taken quite a while to catch up. So I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why I can't understand why they're so far behind. How do they go from where they were to where they are? Like them, have they just swapped cars with Williams or something? I don't know.
I know there's a lot of talk about they're developing their own wind tunnels, so they haven't had the best access to wind tunnels and things like that. That's something that I did read. The thing for me was like, if as unfortunate as this sounds, and he's an Aussie, so I don't want to bag him, but if Daniel Ricciardo had a bad weekend, you kind of would have went, okay. But with Lando having a bad weekend after some of the drives he's put in over the last couple of years, that's where that's concerning.
Mm.
Yeah. Daniel worries me. He does. Even I know he did a little preseason testing, but he's the timing that he did was not overly impressive compared to Norris, and even what he was doing in the car the other night just didn't fill me with a lot of enthusiasm. So it'd be interesting to see how they go.
Wilco.
Okay, we're good. Well, I've just gone to the bloody Discord channel and there's another 4 messages in here.
People want to.
They've had 2 months. No, I've got to go to this one because it's actually Noel's our major sponsor. One of the highlights of my week for the last year has been throwing on the podcast and hearing my name a few times. Has pushed me to improve and put in more effort and become a better driver. Great to be part of the community and the race with fantastic bunch of lads. Was also bloody epic to the Petite Le Mans, that's what it was, and raise all that money for charity. So well done. The other Alex, for some reason, forgot to put anything in there and said, when will a new game of the month be? It's when Wordle dies, and there is a new obsession for our thing.
There's a new one in there. Farmers stealing tanks.
What?
Yeah, there was one put in there just before, a new game that we can play. Farmers stealing tanks.
Okay, no problem.
Apparently.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'll have to look at that later. I don't get time to look at it. Anyway,
it's buried amongst all of the Quirtle and Wordle.
Yeah, it is.
Mate, Quirtle and Wordle's my life at the moment. It's the only thing that gets me out of bed every morning. Matty Hunter, the famed man behind Performance, I can't even remember what his name, but the ANSCAR broadcast, well done. Alex McKellar, get the hell out of our chat channel. Easy. Put another thing on here. We tell you to slow down a bit, Wilco, so you won't burn out. Seen too many good people end up leaving racing full time because they are burnt out from trying to do too much. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Yes, I will slow down when I get some help. And that's mental help, not help from you guys. Timmy Harris comes in, or Katie as we best know him in chat. Haynes' interview was also one of my favorite episodes. The Withy backstory was the most intriguing, and the non-verbal conversation that has been the biggest game changer for the midfield. And then Alex McKellar replies to that, nice one, no verbal conversation. Non-verbal is one of the best parts of racing. It turns the game into checkers. You could have just said it, mate, on live, I think. Anyway,
turns a game of checkers into a game of chess.
That's it. So that's the new name of their podcast, the Non-Verbal Communication, headed up by Alex McKellar. Look out for it soon, along with Locked On Formula One, apparently. So, yeah, no, that's look. Thank you for all the feedback from everyone. It's been a great year. Definitely didn't think it would get to here doing a 2 hour and 15-minute podcast, still trying to wrap it up and having all you people still hanging around watching and listening to every single thing we're saying and commenting, which has been amazing. But wrap up your 12 months, McKellar, and let people know where they can get you as well right at the end, because that will just do the whole thing at once. Why not?
Yeah, so 12 months. Oh, look, I don't know how to wrap it up, honestly, other than I want to do more racing. And that's, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We're not all here if we don't want to be racing. So that'll about do that. But in terms of where you can find us, of course, Sunday Night Lights on Top Split TV over on Twitch. And I've even started up streaming again. Other than this week, I've been a bit crook, but we'll expect to be back on there next week, mainly doing skips and maybe some F4s if I pluck up the courage to branch out a little bit. And of course, I will be streaming our Enduros, which is another reason that I've fired it back up, which I'm looking forward to. Top Split TV on Twitch, Sunday nights for Sunday Night Lights, Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 9:15 p.m. Soon to switch over because of daylight savings, which is GMT plus 11 or plus 10 once we switch over in a few weeks. Top Split on YouTube is where you find the race replays for now. 26 full seasons into our 27th for MNL and SNL, and of course I'm back doing lap guides with the great Christian Perez, current reigning Sunday Night Lights and official Skippy season champion, dual champion from last season. Incredible Skippy driver, and I get the great opportunity to talk through his laps and hopefully help a few people along the way.
The year that we've had, which started, I now remember the very first episode entitled, was it Interesting Lines? Or something on it was all about Perez coming to Aussie Car and racing around Silverstone and taking some extreme.
The Perez line,
Perez line. That's where it started, and that's how we're finishing up to one of the hosts doing actual lap guides with Perez. It's
literally the Perez line.
Yeah. Let's go to Alex John quickly. What wrap it up for us. What do you think?
Just looking forward. Same as Alex. I haven't done officials for I don't know how many years now. I'm stuck in league, so sort of saying that I'm going to do more, which I've said before, but I think I'd actually like to make that commitment and see where the I rating will take me.
Yep. And people can't find you anywhere, so that's the other thing. So just find him as the other Alex in our Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord.
Just looking Tim Speed, I should be somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. Tim, let's go to you, mate.
So me, 12 months. Yeah, look, I think I like racing everything on iRacing, to be honest. I was running around 360 tonight, dirt 360 tonight. I just practice laps. I'm loving Ann's car. Even after my dummy spit, I'm going to commit to that.
World's biggest backtrack.
Yeah, it was. I was like, what else am I going to do? Officials? Nah, let's just commit to it. I know Wilco needs the help, so I'll stick with it, even though he's talking about possibly secret, covertly, maybe doing something else.
Yeah, after all that, I might be the one who's not there.
Yeah. But look, I am enjoying it, and I'll stick with it for the time being. And same with Gentleman Sim Racing Club on Monday nights. I'm going to continue to do GT3s with Tim Harris on that. We're enjoying that a lot, so we'll keep pushing on with that. But same as Alex, it's weird, but I really want to do some officials. I really want to do officials. I want to get stuck into that. I don't care about my rating. I just want to get in there and enjoy it. Particularly, probably where I put my focus would be GT3s at the moment for officials, and that would lead up into some of the enduros that are coming up. And long term, you think about the next 12 months. Probably the part that we haven't covered. The next 12 months would be. I said last year I would love to be in Bathurst this year, and I think I'd V8 Supercars. I don't know if I can do it, but that's what I would like to do. Braden's going to need help at some point in V8 Supercars to get higher than what he's doing. So maybe I'll have to spend some time there to help him out.
Check your front tires, Braden.
Yeah. I'll have to get Alex to jump in one as well. So
Just use a grip hack.
That subject.
Where can people find you, mate?
Oh yeah, Timmy Buckets. Yeah, I actually streamed tonight just as a test to see how it go. It actually went really well.
No, it didn't.
But didn't it?
No, it did.
It did go well. I know it did because I didn't drop any frames in OBS, which was surprising.
That's a weird
out of me.
Weird thing, yeah.
Yeah, but because I've got 1440 screens now, so having three 1440 screens and my computer not handling it, that was what I was worried about. So, but what I did have was when I was racing, it was a little bit jittery, which was not, I haven't experienced that before. So I'll work on that, but I'll start streaming probably in the next week, 2 weeks, which is good because I haven't done that for some time. So Timmy Buckets, Twitch, check it out. Yo.
Definitely go check that one out. There's still so much stuff coming in. I just completely forgot. Stevie Hopper talks about the community raising over $7,000 for Red Kite charity back with the special race that they did back. I think it was Daytona or Talladega. For I can't even remember the name of it, but yeah, that was a really big effort from the community. So well done with that, Braden. I'm finishing with you because you're where it all started. Wrap it up for me, mate. What have you been doing? Where do people find you? What do you think of last year?
What have I been doing? Don't ask me that. We'll be here for another 3 hours to go through all the
crowd's
whole 12
asking
months
for
worth
it.
of racing.
Crowd's asking for it, mate.
12 months for me, I like to think a large amount of growth in my racing ability. Coming from someone who I felt like I could every now and then string together a pretty good hot lap when I'd done a lot of practice to now being able to start to do, a bit more consistently in the racing side of things as well. And I think, the highlight for me was getting the chance to making that breakthrough from being 6th, 7th, 8th in the Aussie car stuff to hassling the green guys and Chastity a little bit more, and then actually feeling like there were some races that I feel like I probably should have won, but maybe just didn't have the experience to really nail that last, tenth of the race or corner. A couple of really cool ones, like running really high in one of the SNL top splits that I made until I binned it into Canada Corner at Road America. Like I thought I was on for like a good top 4 or 5 in a really strong strength of field. I did have a 4th at Snedden, I think, in one of the top split races, so that was pretty cool. And for the future, kind of similar to what you guys have said about officials, I think I'm going to try and not do too much league racing in the very immediate future, just with work and stuff. It's just too busy to commit to doing something weekly. So I think I'm just going to stick with Scops and trying to make some more races for Scops. It was really cool to be able to make my first race in that, and it's only second split, but felt like a pretty big achievement, and I was glad that I could do that for you, Wilco. I know it's been one of your things you've wanted for a long time, just to have a car running around in the Scops race. And then we kind of half claim Chastity. He's got us on the side of his car, but it's not quite the same, is it?
No, it's not quite the same.
So yeah, making another Scops race here and there would be really cool. And then I'd like to try and do some more officials, whether it's V8s or other things, and just finally get to the point where I can just not care about the iRating. I'm not there yet. I've stayed away from doing a couple of races recently because I'm right on the edge of 4K. It's really depressing. It took me so long to get there. But I think I'm just going to dive in, and when I get the chance to do some official races, and hopefully end up where my actual iRating should be for the cars that I'm currently driving, because I'm not a 4K supercar driver or a GT3 driver or those kind of things. So maybe getting a little bit closer to where probably I deserve to be for those cars. I guess in terms of where people can find me, I really would like to start doing some more streams. The Cowboy Sam Devantier has been hassling every time he sees me in a stream. Well, where's your stream? Why are you not streaming tonight? So yeah, I'd like to try and do a little bit more of that. You can find those over at twitch.tv/the1dwade, and maybe make some more videos for the YouTube channel here and there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. That just leaves it up to me, I guess. Obviously been a whirlwind of a 12 months, to be honest. Not where I expected it to be at all. The next 12 months, I can only hope for the same levels where we're at. Just keep it going, but excited to see what actually does come of it. We've got massive plans, always got massive plans. The two biggest things were the 2 charity drives we did, which totaled over almost $3,000 for Beyond Blue and for the brain cancer one. I keep on forgetting it, but yeah, the money we raised for them and the push behind this new one will be hopefully a significant one, which will be really good. Bathurst 12 hour was a highlight, but that was just before the last 12 months. Hopefully just getting back in the seat. You guys talk about doing officials and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. I'd love to do officials. I just want to sit in the seat. I've pretty much hopefully trained someone to do my job at work a little bit better. So I should be able to step away from work if financially that works for the next 12 months. Then it should see me behind the wheel a little bit more, creating a bit more content, having more time in my life to be able to do stuff for myself. And if you guys enjoy what I do that I'm doing for myself, then cool, that's great. The broadcasting side, as I talked about, I'm really enjoying that. The time I'm spending with Carl is really good, but then I'd love to be able to do some commentary with you guys as well. When me and Braden have done our famous horrible audio one of a SNL split 2, that kind of stuff, I think it's just good fun being able to, if you can't race, you talk. If you can't do something, you talk about it. Isn't that what you do? So I can't race very well, so I talk about it. So, but yeah, being able to get in behind the wheel and actually dedicate myself to learn a bit better. I've got the new rig hopefully coming with a new house soon with the new streaming room / broadcasting room. So that'll be good fun. But yeah, we'll see what happens. See how the ride goes. I'm trying to read. It's Braden in Facebook. Okay, something's going on. Ed's not happy with the response, or confused. But you can find all our stuff. My stuff's our stuff. Locked On Lads on Facebook is the main place we are at the moment. I actually pulled up Wix the other day and fiddled around with the website, lockedonlads.com. There'll be some changes coming to that fairly soon. I'm trying to make lockedonlads.com/cure, which will be our home for our donation page. So that's not up yet, so don't go there looking for it, but it will be up hopefully over the weekend / next week. And you'll see our big campaign page that we'll have set up by Wednesday when they announce the superhero streamers campaign. Locked On Lads YT on YouTube, which is going extremely well. If we can really push it this next 12 months, we might be able to get ads on there, which I know that's annoying for a lot of people, but it is just that little bit of extra income that we can not have to try and chase up other people for. The more I honestly, I would like to pay everyone for their work. That's what I want to get to. These guys, everyone's doing everything for free right now. I don't like that. I don't think it's fair, but that's where I'd like to get to, and we can only do that with the help of the community. But I know so much of the community is doing it tough right now, and has been forever, and will be doing it tough for a long time. So I don't expect anything from anyone, and I'd prefer to have that money go towards charity anyway. So, but we'll see where we're at. We've got a few gigs coming up where we're actually getting paid for. So, if we can spread that money around through us, then makes everything a little bit more worthwhile. But like I said, Locked On Lads YT on YouTube, Locked On Lads on Twitch, Locked On Lads on Facebook. They're the places you can find us. We do broadcasts every Wednesday night for Anscar Thunder. Like I said, 8th of May, we will be doing the Australasian Supercar E-Series on Sunday nights. Hopefully, if I can ever race in Anscar ever again, you'll see me getting on Thursday nights, and we'll go from there and we'll see where else we're at. But thank you everyone for your support for the last 12 months. Thank you, these other 4 people in chat with me, for the effort you've put in for the last 12 months and the support you've given me. And that is it. We will catch you next week with an actual episode. We will discuss whether part of it is live or not off air. But thank you everyone who has made tonight such an awesome night, and we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.